In this strange world, everyone bears a floating book above their heads, bronze, silver, or gold. Only Kang Yuhyan possesses the unique eyes to read these destinies, making him a living cheat code. He is a storyteller, a weaver of tales who provides entertainment to gods for divine sponsorships. His mission: sign a contract with a high-value vessel within 1 hour or face the end. Success brings permanent employment, but failure means death. Yuhyan hunts desperately for a golden book. Time is a cruel master. With only 60 seconds left, it seems like game over. A memory of his past life flashes. The legendary sword queen, Kang Hyrim. He warps instantly. He finds her in a filthy dorm, a starving girl surviving on cheap instant noodles. She panics, mistaking him for a thief, though who robs a house while wearing a tuxedo. Ignoring her babble, Yuhyan stares at her bronze book. Beneath the surface, it radiates golden light. This is the future Sword Queen. He introduces himself as a storyteller, here to change her life. He offers her the role of the protagonist, a star whose life will entertain the gods. Hyrim can't believe it. Why would a loser like her ever become a main character? With a silver tongue and epic promises, he wins her over. She has nothing left to lose. The contract is sealed just as the timer hits 0. Fate has been successfully rewritten. Mission accomplished. Yuhyan is officially promoted to a full-time employee of the Celestial Company. He is stunned to see the legendary warrior was once just a normal, struggling girl. He remembers his previous life during the apocalypse, where he was a mere secondary character. He gave everything to save his comrades, only for his leader to betray him like trash. In that moment of death, he swore to return and stand above every treacherous soul. Awakening in the past, he found himself as a small, round creature in a strange void. A goat-headed being explained their new reality. They were trainees for the great Celestial Company. A massive portal opened, pulling them in as the Genesis blessing sparked within his soul. Realizing he had returned to the days before the apocalypse, his path was finally clear. He tried to select his starting location, but his tiny, fluffy paws were hilariously useless. Wishing for his human form, his sheer willpower forced his body to transform instantly. The goat-headed manager was terrified. No one should be able to shift forms so quickly. Back in the present, Yuhyan analyzes Hyrim's hidden talent, the Goryeo sword mastery. Despite being a sword saint, she's wielding a shield. It's a tragic waste of potential. "Throw away that shield and take up the blade," he commands. Her real training begins. The moment she swings the sword, a rush of incredible power courses through her veins. Even without a teacher, her form is perfect. The Sword Queen is finally waking up. The next mission arrives. Create a library, a divine live-stream room for the gods' entertainment. He names the channel after himself and teleports them to the Gate of Mind. This is a realm of myths, where collectors must survive to earn donations from constellations. Just like this recap, if you're enjoying the story, hit that like and subscribe button. The stream begins. As gods flood the room, Yuhyan retreats to the observation deck. Left alone against a horde of monsters, Hyrim is paralyzed by overwhelming terror. She trembles and flees, while the watching gods mock her as a pathetic coward. But memories of her miserable past ignite a spark of rage. She refuses to run anymore. Gripping her sword with white knuckles, the era of the Sword Queen officially begins. Trapped alone in the monitoring room, Hirin trembled. Vicious monsters surged forward, looking ready to devour her whole. Her body shook with paralyzing terror as she fled. Above, the cold-hearted constellations mocked her pathetic, cowardly struggle. They branded her a scaredy cat, gambling on her death. Meanwhile, painful memories of being ridiculed flashed through Hirin's mind. "No more running," she vowed. Refusing to be useless, Hirin tightened her grip on her sword, her soul burning. As the beast lunged, her eyes flared with terrifying killing intent. One flash of steel, and the monster was annihilated. Everyone froze in shock. Hirin had conquered her fear. Golden light erupted from the corpse, flowing into her body. This was pure experience points. Hirin rejoiced, but the battle wasn't over. More monsters were closing in for blood. Wave after wave charged, but they were merely fodder for her blade. Each kill fueled her exponential power growth. The monsters wept, begging for mercy from this human demon. The watching constellations, stunned, showered her with donated TP. Soon, Hirin reached the boundary, the forbidden zone. Usually, collectors stayed behind this line to ensure their own safety. Crossing meant erasing this mind realm and triggering the unknown. Most feared this taboo, choosing survival over true power. But with her brother's approval, Hirin stepped forward. She would shatter the limit. The viewer count surged to 20. The gods watched closely. Could a rookie do the impossible? Previously, humans hid in safe zones like total cowards. That lack of courage once bored the gods, triggering the apocalypse. Yu Hyun vowed to change that doomed destiny. Library viewers climbed to 25. Yu Hyun warped to Hirin's side, preparing her for the ultimate mind realm purge. He noticed the grimoire above her glowing with celestial light. He warned her, "The boss and 500 elites wait." "You can still turn back," he offered. Hirin just laughed. "Retreat, let's paint this place red," she shouted. Suddenly, her sword shattered. It was just cheap trash. Hirin's face crumbled into despair. They needed a real weapon. Every TP point they earned vanished on a new blade. Heartbroken by the cost, Hirin's grief turned into rage. "You monsters cost me everything," she screamed. The beasts were confused. "What did we even do, big sister?" She leaped high, a devastating strike obliterating the front line. "Do you know how hard I worked for those points?" Even the boss trembled, questioning who the real monster was. With one final slash, it was sent to the afterlife. Alert, mind realm cleared. The live stream ended, and the duo headed to a bakery to celebrate their massive haul. "Do you truly not know the 𝒂𝒎 swordmaster?" Hyun asked. He began to reveal the legend of the era's greatest warrior. Chiak Junjeong was a low-ranking officer who single-handedly scaled the Great Wall, slaughtering thousands of invading barbarians alone. His bravery was legendary, carving through armies until his arms gave out. Men whispered he had surpassed human limits. He was hailed as the god of blades. Hirin was stunned. She was completely clueless about such a titan. As she grew curious about his life, Hyun suddenly turned 𝒐𝒅'𝒔. He hurriedly tried to hide his own body. Hirin grew suspicious. What was so secretive about this master? She searched Google and immediately turned red as well. She threw the phone at his face. "What the hell are you showing me, you jerk?" she screamed in embarrassment. Blushing aside, Hyun explained her untapped potential, but seeing her act like a total goofball made him doubt his eyes. Could this weirdo really become the first sword queen I once knew? He wondered if he'd picked a broken person. Time for a glow-up training. He taught her proper manners, no more laughing like a lunatic in front of gods. Constellations watched the screen, their jaws dropping. They rubbed their eyes 49 times, unable to believe the transformation. Gone was the messy rookie. Hirin looked like a goddess. In this world, power is first, but visuals are everything. Hearts flooded the chat. A little beauty goes a long way. Preparing for the next dive, Hyun spent his coins. He bought her legendary story skills, his wallet weeping in silence. The stage was set for their next epic conquest. He reminded her again, "Hold your head high." The Sword Queen's prestige was more than just strength, it was an aura. The viewers were hooked. From a nobody to a divine beauty, Hirin's rank was skyrocketing through the heavens. "Is that really her?" the comments asked. The ordinary girl had become a masterpiece under Yu Hyun's expert guidance. As they entered the next gate, the air grew heavy. The rewards would be insane, but the challenges were legendary. Hirin gripped her new blade, her heart steady. No more fear. The gods were her audience, and she was the star. "Watch me," she whispered to the stars. The real domination of the world was only just beginning to unfold. Yu Hyun watched his sister's back. The future he remembered was changing. This time, they would stand above the gods. The quest window flickered. A new mission appeared, pulsing with a dangerous, golden light. Their legend was officially starting. A miniature vortex hovered in the air. Hirim absorbed its essence, her body erupting with a mysterious brilliance. Unlike the agony others faced during synchronization, she felt a strange, intoxicating surge of pure power. She couldn't help but wonder, how could a penniless loser like him afford such legendary, world-bending items? Yunhyun dodged the question, his face pale as he urged her to perform well for the viewers. Stepping through the spatial rift, they arrive in a chilling, desolate cavern. Hirim instantly draws her blade, sensing a trap. The air is freezing and empty. Hirim glares at him, suspecting she's been lured here for some sinister purpose. This is the Claw's Source Labyrinth, a chaotic death trap where many legendary hunters met their gruesome ends. Countless warriors once challenged this maze to prove their strength, but none returned with anything but their lives lost. Not a single soul discovered the hidden clear conditions. It's a twisted mess with no clear path to escape. Suddenly, Hirim spots a mountain of corpses piled high at the entrance. The grim sight confirms the rumors are true. They've all ascended to the afterlife. Looking at the decay, it seems they fell only a short while ago. The live stream is surging. Over 100 viewers and divine storytellers are gathering to watch this rising star's debut. This is her moment to shine brighter than any star and captivate her growing fan base with a legendary performance. Yunhyun produces a thick red thread, mimicking the ancient myths of Theseus to navigate this confusing, dark abyss. He hands the thread to her, preparing for the worst, then leaves her to lead the way alone. Not wanting to be totally absent, he watches her progress through a floating system's status window from the side. Following his orders, she unspools the thread, marking her path through the shadows as her heart begins to race. Hirim still doesn't realize her own monstrous strength far exceeds the poor souls rotting on the floor around her. The terrifying atmosphere of the dungeon weighs heavy on her, though she is more than capable of crushing it. After wandering for a while, she discovers a chamber radiating a light so intense it nearly blinds her eyes. Yunhyun rushes forward to stop her, but a colossal beast suddenly blocks their path with a thunderous roar. This massive minotaur's horns are terrifyingly long, and its scream shakes the very foundation of the entire labyrinth. An explosion erupts on screen, filling the air with thick smoke and making it impossible to see the outcome. Yunhyun worries about her safety, but his fears are baseless. Hirim is far more overpowered than he ever imagined. With one effortless swing, she slaughters the giant beast, her face lighting up at the thought of beef hot pot. The chat is paralyzed in shock. He told her to stay low-key, yet she just pulled off a miracle. This minotaur was leagues stronger than any goblin, possessed of a hide as thick and hard as enchanted steel. A frontal assault should have been suicide. Yunhyun originally planned a slow, tactical battle to chip away its health. He tried to explain a complex strategy for a finishing blow, but she didn't listen to a single word. He screamed until his throat was sore, but his tactical advice was completely ignored by the battle-hungry girl. On the screen, Hirim is fueled by pure bloodlust as she charges the beast with her weapon raised high. Despite the overwhelming odds, her sword suddenly begins to glow with a brilliant, divine radiance that pierces the dark. She doesn't flinch. Instead, she grips the hilt with expert precision, ready to unleash a devastating high-level technique. Yunhyun is speechless. Since when did she master Sword Light? It's a skill reserved for only the highest masters. Sword Light allows a warrior to manifest their inner aura through their blade, a feat of pure martial genius. This ultimate technique isn't something you just learn. It usually requires specific quest lines or deep enlightenment to unlock. Yet, Hirim achieved this legendary power naturally, defying all logic of the system's usual progression and growth. As they clash, her eyes burn with the fire of a true warrior. The beast never stood a chance. In an instant, the monster is sliced into steak. The impact is so great it leaves her panting. A massive fissure tears through the stone floor, proving just how much raw destructive power her sword now holds. The stream room explodes. Viewers flood in, showering her with praise and donations for that breathtaking finishing move. However, confusion quickly replaces the excitement. Even with the boss dead, They are still trapped within this realm. Why hasn't the gate opened? Yoon-hun realizes he has to step in once again to fix this mess. He appears like a ghost to explain that the trial isn't over yet. The boss was just the beginning. The truth is far more complex. This labyrinth won't release its prey just because the Minotaur has been slain. Yoon-hun isn't just guessing. In his past life, he saw many powerful hunters fail to solve this riddle. Everyone focused on killing the Bull King, but none understood the core principle required to actually clear the dungeon. They lacked the fundamental logic to bypass the maze's mechanics properly, leading to their ultimate and tragic demise. Until one day, a lowly scavenger accidentally stumbled upon the solution while picking up trash in the dark. Instead of escaping, she traced the red thread back, but the exit. It wasn't at the entrance. Turning back was a total waste of time. The exit everyone sought was actually above them, a glowing circular hole. Daedalus, the architect of this trap, was a genius. That was undeniable. He built a perfect prison, yet she found the flaw so easily. Minus's trap, born of blind fury, was being dismantled and escaped from. Seeing the white feather in Yoon-hun's hand, she realized the truth. No princesses here, just goose feathers. She sprinted off like a maniac. She returned with a pile of feathers, eyes sparkling with smug pride. Those smelly feathers were a treasure. Radiant wings suddenly sprouted out. System alert, wings of Icarus obtained, rare grade, 1 flight per day. Even with a legendary item, Harem just stood there, completely frozen. Get moving, fly to the well mouth or stay here selling scrap. System notice, labyrinth cleared, you earned 4,000 points for this victory. Safely back, Harem was still totally obsessed with her new divine wings. She acted all cute and alluring, making the main character's skin crawl. This girl is crazy. She even forgot to rank up at the association. But mention money, and her eyes shine brighter than any star. She blasted off like a rocket. Out of my way, money is calling. People everywhere stopped and stared. Who is this stunning, mysterious goddess? Even the staff were flustered by her 10 out of 10 beauty. They announced the underworld conquest, and the whole room went into shock. Jealousy flared. That place is a death trap for even elite hunters. Seeing a weak girl solo it, the crowd couldn't believe their ears. Liars, they shouted, while the clerk nervously started her rank-up process. Only level 9. The crowd started mocking her without any mercy. No level 9 clears the underworld. It's a total blatant lie. A massive bully stepped up, calling them frauds to their faces. He sneered, his ugly face inches away, mocking their supposed achievement. Stop faking it, kids. But Harem just ignored him like absolute trash. Being ignored made him explode. His face darkened with pure, murderous rage. He insulted her again, but she treated him like invisible dust. Finding him annoying, Yoon-hun stepped in to block the big bully. A lowly manager, the brute laughed. Stay out of hunter business, kid. I don't care who you are. This is the Hunter Association. Move. As a fist tightened, the main character gave a calm, final warning. Back off now. You really don't want to see what happens next. The brute lunged, but her slender hand caught his wrist like iron. He tried to intimidate her, but the tables had already turned. Before he could finish his threat, he was slammed into the floor. The ground shattered. I warned you, but you just had to flex. The bully was stunned. A little girl just put him in the dirt. Total humiliation. He was beaten instantly by a girl half his size. Blinded by rage, he gathered his strength for one final, desperate strike. Everyone gasped, shielding their eyes from the impending, brutal collision. Her victim was being turned into mincemeat pinned, ruthlessly against the cold floor, while his arms screamed in agony. The crowd's mockery stung as the level 7 warrior realized he was losing to a total amateur fueling his blind rage. He trembled violently, casting a gaze full of pure venom at Yoon-hun, who sat there calmly watching the drama unfold. The massive beast of a man roared, struggling to crawl out from under her crushing weight, desperately fighting against her control. A thick, suffocating aura radiated from the two, as onlookers watched the clash paralyzed by sheer terror. They feared a bloodbath was imminent, yet the hulking brute refused to submit, growling like a cornered animal at our hero. But before he could bark again, Harem decided to teach him a final lesson, ending his pathetic bravado instantly. Her foot slammed down with devastating force, burying his face into the dirt and completely shattering his remaining pride. His soul nearly left his body as she unleashed the legendary 1,000-pound press, a truly divine martial technique. Yunhun had chosen her for the Sword Queen title, but he never expected such a high-quality masterpiece, sitting back satisfied. Suddenly, the security team finally showed their faces, looking cool in their sunglasses, after hiding like cowards until now. Their timing was far too convenient, suggesting they were waiting for a direct order from the higher-ups above. Just as predicted, a sophisticated middle-aged man led the squad forward, his polite mask hiding a much sharper edge. He was the one in charge, and his annoyance toward Yunhun was palpable, blaming him for the entire chaos. Yunhun calmly explained the situation, claiming it was just a small disagreement between dogs, not a real brawl. That bastard started the fight to show off, so our hero's actions were merely a case of perfect self-defense. Look at her pristine appearance, without a single scratch, proving she wasn't the one looking for trouble. Someone starting a fight wouldn't look this composed, and suddenly the guards acted like heroes by seizing the true thug. They pinned the troublemaker down while the surrounding citizens cheered in agreement, confirming the villain's guilt. Unable to escalate the situation further, the manager flashed a fake corporate smile while apologizing for the misunderstanding. After a long and tedious wait, they were finally led to a private room to claim their hard-earned rewards. The crowd watched with blushing faces and awe as Harem walked past, looking like a true legendary goddess. Her debut was a massive success, leaving the onlookers mesmerized, but Yunhun had much bigger fish to fry. His eyes were locked on the manager, planning to strip him of every resource down to his last cent. Above the man's head, a glowing silver book floated, signaling a formidable hidden power or a very rich target. This snake had tried to frame them, only to flip his attitude in a heartbeat once the tide turned. Over tea and snacks, they sat down to talk business, cutting straight to the heart of the matter. The manager's interest peaked when he realized Harem had conquered the mind realm alone, a wicked smile forming. But sensing Yunhun's piercing gaze analyzing him, he quickly shifted back to his professional business persona. He asked what they desired, but our hero only wanted one thing: the absolute maximum compensation they deserved. Yunhun demanded the rights they earned for clearing such a high-level realm, challenging the manager's greed directly. "Are you planning to hoard our rewards?" he asked, sending a visible shiver down the old man's spine. The manager tried to play it off, claiming he lacked the authority to decide, but our hero wasn't buying it. He had no time for this old fox's games, demanding he cough up the prizes or face his wrath. If one mind realm isn't cleared, a new one cannot manifest, creating a stagnant, dangerous deadlock for everyone. The government prefers this status quo, while the associations and hunters all agree to keep things stuck. They want to prevent the maze from expanding, keeping the world in a fragile state of neutrality, fearing the unknown. To the guilds, a new clearing is just more trouble, so they refuse to pay out the legendary rewards. Faced with the manager's stubbornness, Yunhun's sharp tongue didn't hold back, lashing out at their pathetic cowardice. He mocked the other hunters, who failed their duties miserably, bringing nothing but shame and total defeat. But that failure is exactly what they want, fearing the massive cost and manpower required to analyze a new realm. Countless pioneers would die in the process, so they keep the old gates open, pretending to value human life. It was all a pathetic excuse, and once Yunhun exposed the lie, the manager lost his cool completely. He slammed the table in a fit of rage, but Yunhun remained as cold and calm as ice. He was simply fulfilling his role as a collector, and there was no logic that could stop his path. No reward, only the burden of others' failures. This cost in human lives. made the old man howl in a fit of impotent rage. But to Yun Hun, his hollow words were nothing but pure garbage, preaching about safety while the world sinks into a sea of fire. Countless souls have already perished under the weight of those divine entities. These cowards choose silence just to save their own skins. Doing nothing changes nothing. That is why he stepped forward. Yun Hun is not some pathetic coward who hides. He will confront destiny head-on, refusing to yield. But the manager scoffed. To him, one man's resolve couldn't possibly shift the world. This is reality. The system favors the elite, and nobodies like you get crushed. Staring at that smug face, Yun Hun smirked. Quite proud of your title, aren't you? I wonder how those high-end mighty constellations will react once they see your true, filthy self. The manager thought he was safe in the shadows, but then a sudden ding echoed. The sound chilled his blood. System windows flooded the air, filled with the viewer's fury. The audience's hatred for the guild was boiling over. Seeing his confusion, Yun Hun smiled. Allow me to introduce myself. I'm the storyteller for the Celestial Corporation. And I'm writing a tale called Kang Yun Hun. Welcome to my live library, old man. The manager had dismissed him as a lucky rookie with a salesman's grin and some wit. But the reality before him was a nightmare. Thousands of viewers were watching his every move. He'd fallen into a trap set long ago. Cold sweat drenched his back as he realized. This boy was far from ordinary. Every move was calculated. He was completely cornered. There was no escape. The guild's reputation was being dragged through the dirt in real time. Scandalous rumors would reach the saints and constellations like wildfire. A total disaster. The thought of facing the higher-ups' wrath made the manager tremble with absolute terror. Panic gripped his heart. He tried to think of a way out, any way out. But Yun Hun just stood there, calm and indifferent, seeing through his every desperate thought. A primal chill ran down the manager's spine. He felt like a helpless prey. A mere monkey dancing in the palm of Yun Hun's hand. He was completely caught. The manager's legs buckled. He couldn't stop the pathetic shaking as his spirit broke. Seeing the old man crumble, Yun Hun's smile widened. The hunt was over. The manager knew he had lost. Resisting now would only lead to a swifter execution. He bowed his head, voice trembling. "What do you want?" he asked, offering gifts to compensate. He presented compensation for his rudeness, but Yun Hun wasn't in a hurry to accept. Instead, he turned to his viewers. "Should we let him off the hook, guys?" The chat went wild. 100% of the viewers wanted this arrogant guild buried. Donations flooded the screen. They wanted blood, but Yun Hun decided enough was enough. He let the old man go with a chilling warning. "The payment better be ready today." The manager thought the nightmare was over, until Yun Hun said, "There's one more thing." His face turned ghostly pale. Yun Hun chuckled. "Relax, old man, I'm just looking for someone." The target, Choi Do-yu, the man who abandoned Yun Hun to die in a past life. Currently, the guy was a nobody, not even a hunter, but Yun Hun needed him found. He provided the details. 18 or 19 years old, tall, and incredibly arrogant. "He's handsome, though not as much as me. Find him. I need his location immediately." The manager realized the person Yun Hun wanted was a total brat with zero respect. As the cold-hearted Hirim finally took a breath after the intense battle, she sighed. This was the persona Yun Hun had built for her, the silent, deadly warrior of legend. She was destined to be a cold, seductive goddess, but her bank-breaking gluttony ruined the entire vibe. That unhinged, chaotic personality gave him a massive headache. His contractor couldn't be this crazy. Determined to fix her image, he bribed her with a deal. Maintain the cool beauty facade for rewards. Playing the aloof goddess would attract endless fans, and more praise meant one thing. A mountain of gold was within reach. She grinned greedily, but before the dreaming started. They needed to grind levels like mad, but before they could act, a sudden chill struck. Yun Hun's sixth sense flared violently. He gazed into the distance, his sharp instincts screaming of danger. Without a single word of explanation to a confused harem, he rushed toward the source of unease. Activating the system to warp through the clouds, Yun-hun realized he wasn't alone in the sky. A creepy old man hovered behind him, shamelessly drooling while staring at Yun-hun's assets. The old lecher scoffed, questioning why anyone would scout a scrawny, underdeveloped brat like him. Despite the crude insults, the geezer was here for one purpose: to recruit top-tier talent. He represented the Five Senses Star, a powerful division where this perverted old man held high rank. As a veteran storyteller, he expected absolute respect. Yun-hun, ever composed, politely introduced himself. "I am Kang Yun-hun." The name struck the old man like lightning, leaving him speechless. It took the veteran weeks to earn a name. This rookie already had one. Yun-hun rejected him instantly. The old man fumed, his ego bruised by the blunt disrespect. How could a mere fledgling rookie look down on a legendary senior? Suspicion clouded his mind. He suspected Yun-hun had a powerful backer, but our hero didn't need any crutches. Why rely on others when he could dominate alone? To him, this senior was a joke. A lowly recruiter calling himself my senior. Know your place. Yun-hun's words cut deep. Trembling with rage, the old man flashed his faction badge, but Yun-hun wasn't impressed. "Tell your grand faction that I refuse to join," Yun-hun countered with cold defiance. "And tell your boss, if he wants me, he better come crawling here himself. Lay out the red carpet and beg, then I'll consider it." The old man nearly choked with fury. Humiliated and powerless, the senior retreated. Dealing with such flies was child's play for him. With the trash disposed of, he returned to his mission, grooming his star. Step 1, a manager. He and harem set out on a talent hunt, after hours of searching through failures. They stopped at a suspicious, run-down shop. Despite the look, Yun-hun's intuition was certain. He knocked, and a shrill voice yelled, "Wait." Half an hour passed in total silence. Finally, a girl with short hair appeared, leaving Yun-hun completely frozen in shock. Traumatic memories flooded back, a time when he was too weak to change his fate. He saw her again in his mind, the same short-haired girl, helpless in a nightmare. Captured by a white-haired monster, dangling over death, until a voice snapped him back. He gasped, returning to reality. This was the BCH agency, and she was the director. Upon hearing they needed a manager, her eyes sparkled with professional, predatory greed. She appraised harem, a visual masterpiece, but the goddess illusion shattered when harem spoke. The reality hit the director like a ton of bricks. She began observing him closely. Analyzing Yun-hun's aura, she realized he wasn't some idle wanderer. She knew the truth. "You're a storyteller, aren't you?" She nailed it instantly, then suddenly fumbled her words. It wasn't just a guess. She could feel a strange power radiating from his body. A divine, ethereal glow enveloped Yun-hun, a power not belonging to this mortal world. This girl had godlike intuition. Though a minor director now, her future was legendary. When the world falls, she will lead a massive army, commanding thousands with ease. Her foresight would make her a legendary captain, and she was right about him. Seeing her radiant health and cheerful smile put Yun-hun's anxious heart at ease immediately. Without hesitation, he finalized the contract, officially hiring her as his personal manager. Harem signed eagerly, though she had no clue what a manager's true duties involved. It seemed like a trivial job, but managers are vital supports for legendary collectors. They act as bodyguards and caretakers, managing every detail from nutrition to safety. Amazingly, this petite girl could handle every exhausting task alone without breaking a sweat. She even possessed god-tier skills, capable of operating heavy machinery or forging suns. Harem's versatility left everyone speechless. She was a true multitasking superhuman powerhouse. Yun-hun planned to mold her into a superstar, but kept her hidden for now. As they prepared to leave, he stared intensely at her, sparking a moment of shyness. Like a nervous teenager, he softly asked if she harbored any secret dreams or goals. In his past life, He asked this same question after the apocalypse shattered the world. Back then, even covered in filth, she had flashed that same bright, resilient smile. Her answer remained unchanged. Her eyes sparkled with a burning passion for massive wealth. Their shared obsession with gold created a perfect, soul-deep bond between the two. Though they just met, a century of familiarity seemed to flow between their spirits. While she didn't remember, Yun Hyun vividly recalled their legendary partnership from the future. They were a peerless duo, which is exactly why he chose her as his partner. Meanwhile, the villainous rival seethed with rage after being rejected by the five-pointed star. He prepared to launch a system-based revenge, but hesitated as his cold logic returned. Yun Hyun is protected by the blessing of Genesis, making him an untouchable target. A sinister grin crept across his face as he devised a new, devious scheme. Within a week, Harem conquered 4 mind realms, reaching level 7 and shocking everyone. Now they targeted the 5th realm, an extremely rare dungeon that opens every 3 months. Despite the escalating danger, Yun Hyun pushed her to take this risky shortcut to power. He needed her to evolve rapidly into a top-tier collector to survive the coming trials. Yun Hyun also aimed to become the ultimate storyteller, climbing to an unreachable throne. He warned her that half-hearted passion is a shackle that kills a warrior's true potential. Once a goal is set, one must sacrifice everything to seize their desired destiny. He challenged her resolve, asking if she truly believed she could reach the summit. Before she could answer, the mind realm's gates groaned open, pulling them inside instantly. Harem was suddenly thrust into a chaotic, terrifying dimension beyond her wildest imagination. They stood upon a brutal battlefield where soldiers struggled against a tide of monsters. A desperate, burning heat filled the air as the struggle for survival reached its peak. Armored invaders in shimmering steel slaughtered everything in their path with cold efficiency. Screams for mercy echoed through the air, forcing Yun Hyun to grit his teeth. This carnage mirrored the apocalyptic horrors he witnessed in his tragic previous life. He remembered people fleeing in terror as the world began its slow, painful collapse. The memory burned, but he vowed that history would not repeat itself this time. 1 week earlier at the Celestial Corporation, a storyteller introduced several new intern souls. The news of becoming divine holy spirits left the trainees trembling with pure joy. A grand celebration was planned for these famous figures, though they were kept separate. Yun Hyun sipped his wine calmly, fully aware of the corporation's dark, hidden nature. He wasn't worried about those thugs. Even now, he sipped wine at the party with chilling composure. Working for the Celestial Company was a front. The man before him smirked, clapping in mock admiration. Even the legendary Yun Hyun had never seen this. A corporate empire built on a floating celestial island. Deep in space, his awe was interrupted by a squishy, pouting soul drifting toward him. It demanded why he wasn't joining the fun. Before he could refuse, the creature snapped. "Do you think you're better than us just because you changed your looks? Don't underestimate us." It stomped off in a huff. Suddenly, a bizarre caravan of distorted beings emerged from the shadows. Headless phantoms, crocodile men, and vile goblins. A true parade of monsters filled the hall. He ducked behind a pillar, heart racing. Why were these high-tier entities conducting a sudden inspection? Their eyes burned with predatory ambition. It was a recruitment war, and they were hunting prey. To survive this chaotic power struggle, he tried to vanish, but a sharp gaze locked onto him. His transformed appearance was too radiant to ignore. He stood out like a beacon of light. Instantly, the monsters swarmed him like starving ants to honey. The pressure was suffocating. Desperate to escape this aggressive scouting, he spotted a mysterious figure standing apart from the crowd. He rushed over, greeting the stranger like a lifelong comrade, a desperate gamble for survival. Internally, he prayed for a miracle. "Please, just play along so we can get out of here." The ruse worked. They vanished, leaving the frustrated scouts mourning the loss of a prime seed. Once safe, Yun Hyun exhaled in relief. He offered a quick thanks, ready to bolt immediately. He flashed a practiced, commercial smile, but the atmosphere suddenly turned ice cold behind him. The stranger stared. This man had expertly disguised himself as a mere storyteller, yet he was exposed. A scorching gaze pierced the back of his neck. Yunhyun turned, and his blood froze. Looming behind the man was a monstrous three-eyed serpent, a titan of pure, abyssal shadow. A thick, suffocating wave of bloodlust erupted, heavy enough to crush a normal man's soul. Though the stranger seemed merely curious, the sheer weight of his presence was a lethal threat. "How can you see my true form?" the man whispered. Yunhyun hadn't seen the snake. He had only seen a cryptic, hovering grimoire floating atop a swirling mass of dark energy. It was a cursed book of deep obsidian and azure, leaking wisps of eerie, spectral smoke. By focusing his intent, the smoke had parted. He simply spoke what he saw. He lied, claiming he possessed a divine eye capable of piercing any high-level concealment. An eye that could even strip away the layers of a god's disguise. The man hesitated. Stroking his chin in deep thought, the mysterious figure finally broke the silence with a grin. "This must be fate," he chuckled. Then he proposed a high-stakes bet that chilled the air. "Identify who I truly am, and I shall bestow upon you a legendary reward." Abyssal shadows coiled around Yunhyun like hungry vipers. There was no turning back now. He couldn't just guess. He activated his unique skill, desperately trying to analyze the hidden book. He pushed his spiritual energy to the limit, but the seal wouldn't budge even a fraction. His story inheritance, skill hit a wall. In this world, level gaps were absolute and cruel. He searched his memories. Sun Nai Tam once mentioned the arrival of legendary constellations. He recalled the divine rosters, the peerless 𝒐𝒏 and the hellish beastman Hamal. But this energy was different. It wasn't from the heavens, but from the bottomless abyss. The pressure from the book was agonizing. Then he saw them, 3 serpents carved in gold. The realization hit him like a lightning strike. A fallen dragon of fire, once a bringer of light. The first holy spirit of the depths, the great demon king, Satan. The man froze, then erupted into a chilling laugh, applauding with genuine, terrifying amusement. Unbelievable, to think a mere mortal could unmask me so easily. The game had just changed. He never expected anyone to unmask his true identity so easily. "Amazing," he whispered with a sharp grin. Initially, he was just playing a game. In this lawless world, prison was merely a temporary inconvenience. Even if his guess was wrong, punishment was unlikely. Yet, Yunhyun somehow struck the bullseye perfectly. Just look at the cold sweat pouring down his face. This was clearly no simple game of chance. Luckily, the Great One is a man of his word. Since he lost, the promised reward is granted. Suddenly, a system prompt flickers. "Reconstruct the library." Then, the entity makes a shocking, world-altering proposal. Satan himself wants to become a prime investor in Yunhyun's library. It's an unbelievable turn of fate. Securing a sponsorship from such a high-tier divine being is a one-way ticket to absolute, godlike power. But staring at that outstretched hand, Yunhyun feels a chill that freezes the very marrow in his bones. His hand trembles, hovering over a once-in-a-lifetime chance. But he freezes, his instincts screaming in warning. His face turns pale with dread. Trusting his gut, he prepares to reject the ultimate devil's temptation. For Yunhyun, Satan's backing would be a massive boost, but the cost might be his own soul. Accepting means surrendering his throne. He'd be a puppet king, ruled by a master in the shadows. Though he'd gain wealth and fame, a man with his burning ambition could never settle for second best. Everyone knows these divine spirits are terrifyingly powerful. Partnering with one is like dancing on a blade's edge. He'd be forced to tell only tales of damnation. Yunhyun refuses to let another control his narrative. He senses the seeds of greatness within himself. With patience and investment, he can reach the top alone. Faced with a blunt rejection, the ancient devil doesn't rage. Instead, he bursts into a fit of manic laughter. He's amused that a mere human saw through his plan. He truly intended to seize the library's soul. He planned to steal the management rights once the library flourished, leaving Yun Hyun with absolutely nothing. Despite knowing the struggle of going solo, Yun Hyun chooses the harder path without a moment of hesitation. Satan is fascinated by this reckless arrogance. It's a level of pride he hasn't seen in eons. Though the partnership is dead, Satan's gaze lingers with a predatory hunger that makes Yun Hyun's heart stop. He feels like a lamb in a lion's den, fearing for his very life and his untainted future. The devil asks one last time, his voice dripping with temptation, but Yun Hyun's resolve is like tempered steel. Finally, the entity yields and turns to leave. Yun Hyun has survived the most dangerous gamble of all. He watches as the figure vanishes into the void, but not before receiving one final, hauntingly bright smile. "I had fun today. I'll be sure to tune into your live stream soon." The ultimate viewer has subscribed. Once the pressure fades, Yun Hyun retreats to a quiet archive, hoping to lose himself in ancient books. As he opens a dusty tome, a voice echoes, "How strange! A visitor in this forgotten, silent corner." Emerging from the shadows is a figure radiating a blinding, celestial light that fills the entire room. The man holds a legendary golden book, a relic far more radiant and massive than any ordinary text. Its scale is immense, pulsing with a power that makes every other book in the library seem insignificant. Discovering Yun Hyun is a budding storyteller. The silver-haired elder's cold demeanor instantly transforms into warmth. This old man oversees the archive, but he's no corporate slave, just a retired legend enjoying his peace. Yun Hyun's curiosity burns. If he possesses such a book, his youth must have been truly legendary. The elder smiles, reminiscing about the glory days when every major faction fought to recruit his talents. When Yun Hyun declares he'll never join any bureau, the old man's eyes widen with genuine intrigue. "Walking alone is a path of thorns," he warns. He wonders if this youth can truly survive. Seeing Yun Hyun's unwavering eyes, he recognizes the spark of a true, soul-driven storyteller within him. Most are born from the system, empty shells created with high levels but zero heart or true purpose. They are hollow vessels, programmed to perform without ever knowing why they exist or what they want. Their lives are pre-written scripts. They lack the one thing that defines a hero, true, burning desire. In a world of mechanical puppets, a storyteller with real ambition is a rare, magnificent miracle. Yun Hyun is an anomaly, a man carving his own path regardless of what the system dictates. Eager to help, the elder leads him toward something magnificent, a sight that leaves Yun Hyun utterly breathless. The walls are covered in vibrant, living murals. This is the vault of stories that change the world. Welcome to the Hall of Fame, the multiverse center where the most legendary responses and epic records are forever carved. Vivid murals of zombie apocalypses and god-tier warriors line the walls, making our protagonist grin with pure, unadulterated excitement. He explores like a wide-eyed child in a toy store until he suddenly halts. Before them lies a mysterious path. A dead end. 30 years ago, the chronicles of legendary lives abruptly stopped here, leaving only echoes of a forgotten era. The old man brought Yonhun here to ensure someone remembers this sanctuary. Though abandoned and erased, its legacy remains. Once a beacon of blinding glory, it now rots in silence. The old man fears that when he dies, its light vanishes. To prevent total oblivion, he chose the boy to carry the torch of these extraordinary, world-shaking tales into the future. Modern storytellers are pathetic hacks, recycling boring tropes just to hit their daily quotas and collect a meager paycheck. They have no soul, failing to create the heartwarming masterpieces or the classic dramas that the elder gods truly crave. This reminds Yonhun of his own past life. After he kicked the bucket, his rival, that bastard Choi Do-yun, likely thrived. That snake Choi Do-yun probably staged some miraculous drama to get his name etched into these very walls for all eternity. The sheer jealousy burns. Yonhun vows to surpass him and leave a legendary legacy that will endure for 1,000 years. He sincerely thanks the elder for showing him this sacred ground. But when he asks for the old man's true identity, the elder freezes, then offers a cryptic smile. He promises to reveal his name only if Yonhun manages to return alive. The divine banquet is over. Yonhun's form begins to flicker and fade, as if the world itself is kicking him out. Forced back to reality, he shouts a final farewell. Meanwhile, 𝑦𝒊𝒗𝒆𝒔 snaps awake with a jolt as Yonhun calls her soul. Her heart thrashes in her chest. As her vision clears, she realizes she is standing right in the middle of a slaughterhouse. This is it, the turning point of history, the bloody finale of the Middle Ages and the birth of the modern era. 150,000 Ottoman troops are closing in to crush the Byzantine Empire. The siege of Constantinople has begun. Rome's last stand against the Ottoman juggernaut. Assessing her position, 𝑦𝒊𝒗𝒆𝒔 realizes she is on the losing side, the Romans. Her mission, defend the crumbling walls at all costs. She remembers this from her past life. It is a trial of fire. This is where the legendary Sword Queen was born. If she survives, she will awaken her first god-tier skill and title. Success demands she conquers this nightmare, but looking at the horizon, her courage begins to falter under the sheer pressure. 𝑦𝒊𝒗𝒆𝒔 trembles uncontrollably. Her mask of composure shatters, replaced by raw terror. Can they actually win against such impossible odds? There are barely 500 collectors here. That is nowhere near enough to hold back the tide of steel and blood. 7,000 defenders against 150,000 invaders. It is not a battle. It is a guaranteed one-way trip to hell. Panic consumes her. Is this a suicide mission? Suddenly, Yonhun's voice cuts through the chaos, snapping her back to reality. Over 200 holy spirits are watching her live stream right now. This is her stage to blind the gods with her brilliance. It is time to show them that 𝑦𝒊𝒗𝒆𝒔 is no ordinary player. This is not just a dungeon, it is an audition. She must steal viewers from every other channel. If she fails to make an impact, the fickle audience will simply leave. To dominate the rankings, she needs a performance that leaves them breathless. Boring gameplay is a death sentence in this stream. But being ordinary is too common. Yonhun, the master of chaos, decides to take a path that no one dares to tread. He orders 𝑦𝒊𝒗𝒆𝒔 to solo this entire mental realm. In her past life, she failed this mission and barely escaped alive. Back then, she was just a survivor. But now, 𝑦𝒊𝒗𝒆𝒔 has evolved. She's no longer the weak girl who ran away. Her power has transcended its limits. Seeing her standing alone, a cocky player and his girlfriend approach her with a smug offer. They want to form a party and split the loot, thinking solo play is suicide. But 𝑦𝒊𝒗𝒆𝒔 just gives them the cold shoulder. She walks away with icy pride, ignoring their pathetic pleas. Infuriated by her silence, the duo starts barking insults at her. They mock her, calling her arrogant just because she cleared 3 measly dungeons. They think she is just an overconfident rookie. Little do they know, 𝑦𝒊𝒗𝒆𝒔 sees right through them. She knows they are useless dead weight looking for a free ride. Don't even dream of using me. Suddenly, a massive soldier in gleaming, priceless armor emerges from the thick battle smoke. It is the guardian illusion of this battlefield. Despite the historical distortions, he radiates an aura of pure, imperial authority. Behold the last emperor of Rome. He might be a mere dungeon construct, but he looks terrifyingly real in every detail. Every strand of hair, every scar. The realism is staggering. Before he can even finish his speech, the earth begins to tremble. A deafening explosion rocks the city. System messages flood 𝑦𝒊𝒗𝒆𝒔's vision in a frantic, crimson glow. The nightmare has started. The siege of Constantinople has officially begun. Objective: command the defense and seize a miraculous victory against the impossible. A golden opportunity. The enemy swarm surges forward with bloodlust as 2 mercenaries strike first. Flashing their high-tier gear, they dive into the front lines with monstrous power and speed. They blast soldiers away, arrogance dripping from every word. Only Yonhun senses the trap. Something is wrong. These 2 are swinging wildly like madmen, yet the battlefield remains unchanged. Despite their flashy skills, the enemy ranks aren't thinning by even a single soldier. Fatigue sets in for the party, while bored viewers begin logging off the stream. While others falter, Harem stands tall. Her composure remains unshakable amidst the growing chaos. Yun Hun shifts his focus to the broadcast hub, where divine storytellers guide their contractors. From robots to sirens, the variety is endless, but one tiger god is absolutely fuming. His viewers are jumping ship. They are all rushing to watch the Sword Queen's channel. Each stroke of Harem's blade is a masterpiece, skyrocketing her viewers to 512. The tiger god screams in rage, cursing his own pink-haired avatar for being completely useless. The limit is near. Even the legendary Harem is starting to breathe heavily from exhaustion. Yun Hun watches her intently, wondering how she will act when finally backed into a corner. Suddenly, a massive explosion rocks the earth. The great fortress wall begins to crumble. Harem is stunned. It is the legendary weapon that once shattered the pride of Rome. The Orban cannon, the Ottoman pride that once rewrote history with its devastating, ancient power. The collectors are paralyzed with fear. In their despair, the king makes a desperate plea. He begs for their strength to hold the final line for one last stand. But before he can finish, the cowards turn tail and abandon the mission in terror. Harem begs them to stay, knowing that if they leave, this world will truly burn. But these heroes only care for themselves, viewing this world as nothing but a game. They shove Harem aside, mocking her for caring about fake NPCs who do not matter. They demand she move so they can escape. Their words cut deeper than any blade. Harem is speechless. How could they give up so easily after acting so brave? As they vanish toward the exit gate, the silence on the battlefield becomes deafening. Harem stands alone, lost in the void, wondering what one girl can do against armies. Amidst the betrayal, the emperor offers a sad, grateful smile for her remaining presence. He starts to speak, but the remaining players vanish instantly, refusing to suffer any longer. Seeing his reinforcements flee back to reality, the emperor's eyes fill with ancient, heavy sorrow. Abandoned again, it is a feeling he has known through 1,000 hellish loops. Yet, as the sovereign, he cannot flee, even if the end is written in blood. He grips his sword with iron resolve, knowing he is just a digital phantom echo. But he refuses to stand by, while his people are slaughtered like cattle before him. If this is the prophecy, he will spit in the face of fate one last time. No matter how many times he dies, he will never break or surrender to despair. The enemy army closes in on the lonely king, as death's shadow looms over him. Just as the blades fall, a divine force crashes from the heavens in a shockwave. Was it a meteor? No, it was Harem descending like a Valkyrie to block the path. She stands alone against 1,000 blades. The soldiers recognize the mercenary who stayed. An angel, they cry, hailing her as a savior sent from the heavens above. The emperor is frozen in shock. Why would she risk her life for this doomed world? Harem's resolve is absolute. She won't let this king's tragedy repeat ever again. She finally realizes the truth. These phantoms remember every time they were abandoned by players. They carry the scars of every hero who turned their back on them before. For ages, he was a mere shadow of his former self, but Harem's fierce denial changed everything. Her eyes burned with a vow to save everyone. Inside the ancient emperor, a dormant flame suddenly ignited. That unwavering gaze left him speechless. For the first time since his creation, the king felt true joy. Amidst this touching moment, the enemy surged forward. They launched a brutal assault, but neither hero would yield. Standing their ground, they faced the horde to buy time. The emperor's voice shook the very heavens. "Protect our people, protect our nation," he roared. "Protect the one who has become our true savior." Yun Hyun watched the screen intently. Above Harem, a mystical book began glowing, shifting from bronze to silver. She was finally reclaiming the power of her past life. Her sword dance was a masterpiece of pure destruction. 800 viewers stood captivated by her skill. The system announced her rapid growth to the entire world. The 𝒂𝒎 dynasty sword mastery is now fully unlocked. A legendary hidden trait has begun to awaken. The sword and body union reached partial activation. These pathetic enemies were no match for her newfound grace. They only managed to leave a single scar on her face. Harem struck back instantly, deleting them from existence. Other narrators watched her exhaustion grow. They began to jeer, telling her it was time to give up. Their mockery was cut short by a cold voice. "Shut your mouths, you talentless cowards," Yunhyun hissed. His eyes turned predatory, terrifying the other narrators. They never expected such venom from his handsome face. These bottom feeders were just waiting for him to fail. Yunhyun clenched his fists in silent, burning rage. They had no right to judge her sacrifice. Harem was giving her life while they hid like rats. Suddenly, the defensive line shattered. As the soldiers retreated, a lone, slender figure stood her ground. It was Harem. Even she didn't understand why she was pushing so hard. Death was looming over her. Logic told her to run like the others, but her instincts screamed that she would regret fleeing forever. Despite her wounds and broken body, she didn't move. Then, an arrow hissed through the air, piercing her chest. As their leader fell, the enemy swarmed like monsters. The remaining soldiers died one by one, protecting her. Tears finally spilled from Harem's eyes. She had been so confident she could change destiny alone. Her spirit broke, and she collapsed onto the dirt. Online, a toxic storm of keyboard warriors began their attack. Negative comments flooded the stream. Yunhyun felt panic rising as the situation spiraled out of control. Suddenly, the chat went deathly silent. A terrifying system notification flickered onto the glowing screen. "The one who grins from the abyss has entered." Yunhyun broke into a cold sweat at that name. Only one entity could carry such a dark title. Satan himself had joined the divine livestream. The fallen angel asked why the mood was so heavy. Yunhyun snapped back, blaming his overwhelming presence. The viewers were paralyzed with fear. They thought the devil appeared because the stream was ending. But he arrived exactly at the most thrilling climax. Yunhyun, exhausted from waiting, entered his own mind. He stepped into the mental realm before a broken harem. He slammed his sword into the ground. Hearing his voice, she looked up with hollow eyes. Her face was the picture of total despair. If she kept clutching that sword, she would die. He knew it, and so did the broken girl. When asked if she wanted to quit, she screamed, "No!" Her stubborn pride refused to let her vanish. She knew her defiance wouldn't change the outcome. Yet, her heart refused to surrender to the darkness. Tears fell as she remembered her painful past. Everyone had told her she was a talentless failure. Those cruel whispers had almost made her give up. But then, Yunhyun had told her something different. He claimed she possessed a unique, legendary talent. He believed she could do what no one else could. That belief was the only reason she stood here today. She finally realized what she truly wanted to achieve. Harem gripped her hilt, her spirit reigniting with fury. The legendary transition was finally about to begin. The abyss gazes back, but she didn't blink. Her true power was awakening under the devil's watchful eye. One girl against an army, backed by a god. The real battle for world domination starts right now. Yunhyun smiled as the system stabilized. The ordinary nobody was about to become a divine legend. The stage is set for an insane reward. Harem stood up, ready to paint the battlefield in blood. She leaned on her blade, forcing herself up with sheer defiance. "I'm done running." Suddenly, a blood-soaked maniac lunged forward, aiming for Harem's throat. She knew she had to resist, but her body had reached its absolute limit. Paralysis set in. Was this the end for her? She could only grit her teeth in bitter frustration. Then, like a shadow, Yunhyun stepped in front of her. "Well done," he whispered. With a cold flick, he accessed the system and revoked the blessing of Genesis. In a flash, his blade sang, executing the enemy in a single, lightning-fast strike. Not only was Harem stunned, but even Satan himself smirked in genuine amusement. What an intriguing brat! Since the day he was born, Yun-hun had only one burning desire, to be the protagonist of his own story. But reality is a cruel mistress, and his dreams were trampled by that bastard, Choi Do-yun. Back then, he actually believed the insults, accepting the role of a loser. A mere dog groveling at a master's feet, but Harem was different. Her indomitable will flared like a supernova, unyielding even in the face of certain death. Watching her fight until her last breath, Yun-hun knew he couldn't just stand by. Gripping his hilt, he prepared to paint the floor red with their blood. Harem panicked. Without the blessing of Genesis, he was just a regular mortal, vulnerable and fragile. A single mistake would mean death. But Yun-hun didn't give a damn. He lunged forward, his blade thirsting for blood, decapitating his foes. This explosive debut instantly hooked over 1,000 divine viewers, who knew their host was this insane. Harem could only watch in awe. Driven by her fierce determination, Yun-hun finally tapped into the true power. The dimensional shop flickered open. Normally, narrators are mere observers, forbidden from ever interfering with the tragedy. They were content to watch the world burn. They believed their hands should remain clean and hearts cold. But to hell with those rules. They didn't stay back because of divine law, they were simply cowards. Terrified of death, but Yun-hun was different. He was going to turn this slaughterhouse into his personal stage. And he was the star of the show. The enemy still foolishly believed that killing Harem meant certain victory, unaware that the Grim Reaper was already pressing a cold blade against their throats. Yun-hun moved like a phantom, tearing through their ranks. "Step forward and die," he roared, desperately buying precious seconds for Harem to recover and unleash her ultimate skill. Though alone, Yun-hun was an impenetrable fortress, keeping the horde at bay, striking fear into their blackened hearts. But after an endless dance of death, even his stamina hit rock bottom. Gasping for air like a dying man, seeing his weakness, the enemy swarmed like vultures, smelling blood. They charged, but before they could strike, a blinding pillar of light erupted from the center of the battlefield. Alert! Kang Harem has achieved true awakening, the unity of sword and body. She rose, radiating pure power. Heavenly blue light. This was the legendary path of the azure heaven. The confused monsters had no idea. The stench of impending death was unmistakable. They turned to flee, but there was no escape from her. Divine wrath, pouring every ounce of her soul into a single strike, she unleashed a wave of absolute destruction, leveling everything for miles. The shockwave pulverized the enemy ranks until nothing but dust and silence remained. The battlefield was cleared. Though Yun-hun's arrival was a mystery, the emperor bowed his head in profound gratitude. But this peace was a fragile illusion. Once the dungeon reset its hellish loop, the nightmare would begin anew. And failure would be inevitable. To break the cycle, they needed the head of the enemy commander. That was their only ticket to salvation. The enemy forces began a frantic retreat, their numbers severely thinned by the slaughter, leaving only the wounded behind. Yet, the main autumn army was still a vast, terrifying ocean of monsters. Returning alive from this suicide mission seemed impossible, but to even reach the enemy leader, they needed 300 brave souls led by the emperor himself. Heavy with thought, the king turned to face his men. Scanning the battered and broken warriors before him, he owed them a debt that could never be fully repaid. They had sacrificed everything for the crown. Clenching his fists until they bled, the king spoke from his heart. "I must save this land. I beg of you, lend me your strength one last time to defend our home." He didn't command them as a king, but pleaded as a man. "Those who fear death stay behind. But who will stand with me?" Suddenly, every single battered soldier stepped forward in a silent, powerful wave, eyes blazing with unwavering loyalty to their sovereign. Not a single soul retreated. The final battle was finally here. The enemy felt a chilling shift. This Roman army wasn't like the cowards before. No one fled. Just as they braced, the emperor roared, "All units advance." The soldiers charged like starving wolves. Desperation and fury fueled their every step. The opposition unleashed a lethal storm. Thousands of arrows blotted out the sun. A single volley wiped out half their ranks. Blood soaked the ancient earth. Eyes forward, Yunhyun bellowed. They knew this was a suicide mission. It was about pride. To honor the fallen, they had to seize victory. They were completely encircled. The rear guard was being torn apart from behind. Harem couldn't watch them fall. She moved to help, but their eyes stopped her. Their gaze was unwavering. Leave the shadows to us. You focus on the front. The Sipahi cavalry appeared, Ottoman elites. Harem's killing intent reached its absolute peak. Like a silver flash, she lunged at the Sultan's core. Nothing could stop her. She carved a path through steel. One strike, one kill. Everyone scattered in terror. The duo fought with every ounce of life. They needed to end this now. The enemy commander was close, but an iron wall of guards blocked their way. It was too slow to fight through. Yunhyun spotted shields littering the ground. An insane plan was born. Harem used the shield. He prepared the launch. He became her springboard. She vaulted into the air, straight into the lion's den. Wings of pride unfurled as she soared. The enemy watched in frozen shock. With divine agility, she danced through a rain of arrows, closing the distance. The leader faced his end with a twisted smile. My fated enemy, at last. Her descent caused a shockwave. One cold blade silenced the commander forever. Suddenly, the Ottoman forces vanished into thin air. Silence reclaimed the battlefield. Harem raised her sword high. A deafening roar of triumph erupted from the survivors. For the first time, they tasted victory. The emperor wept, overcome with emotion. Seeing his men smile was his greatest wish. He bowed deeply in gratitude. For Yunhyun, these weren't just lines of code. Their tears were real. His words moved the emperor. Even through tears, a genuine smile broke through. He offered them everything, wondering if mere gold could ever repay such a debt. I dubbed thee knights. The announcement sent a shock through the two heroes. In this crumbling Roman Empire, a knight's title was a legendary mark of power. This wasn't just a name, it was an evolution. The storyteller began the ritual. Using a blood-stained arrow, the emperor knighted them in the name of Constantine. Radiant golden energy flooded their veins. A divine upgrade surged through their souls. Their stats hit the ceiling. Victory was absolute. The mission was finally complete. The phantoms faded away, wearing peaceful smiles. They were finally free from the loop. System, hidden achievement unlocked. The one above has noticed your legendary feat. Thousands of TP flooded in along with cosmic praise. A new chronicle was born. Floating in the air was a book, The Eternal Storyteller and the Sword Queen. Returning to reality, they found their manager in a state of total panic. She couldn't believe Yunhyun discarded his blessing. Now, he was physically touchable again. Harem didn't mind. She used the chance to tease the handsome hero relentlessly. Without divine protection, he was vulnerable. No more teleporting or easy escapes. But after conquering the mind realm, they were no longer ordinary citizens. They were superstars now. The manager's phone exploded with offers from every agency. Even reporters were swarming. That meant countless divine constellations were now desperate to contact him. Every entity wanted to be his sponsor. The main character looked drained, regretting not blocking them earlier. They were all after the strange fruit in his hand. Half green, half gold, it looked rotten yet divine. The short-haired girl was stunned. Her eyes sparkled, recognizing it as the legendary fruit of eternal life. Satan had played a massive hand, gifting this treasure before millions of viewers. It was a public declaration. He was claiming the main character. This fruit was one of the 2 legendary treasures from the Bible. Yet Yunhyun was completely clueless about its value. This wasn't just a fruit, it was a forbidden miracle. It was a treasure money couldn't buy. But for a low-ranked storyteller like him, it was pure poison. One bite would make him explode like a crushed mosquito. He had blocked everyone, yet a message arrived. A being of pure light requested a private meeting. Intrigued, the main character decided to accept the invitation. He clicked accept, and was instantly pulled into a floating dimension, a secret sanctuary for the divine. This was the place where high-ranking holy spirits gathered to share cosmic secrets and divine gossip. The host's identity shocked him. Meanwhile, the bearded villain was fuming over Yunhun's conquest of Constantinople. The villain had failed miserably there before. Now, he was trembling with rage at the main character's success. If he didn't eliminate Yunhun now, the higher-ups would execute him for losing such a golden seed. But his twisted mind found a loophole. Yunhun no longer had a divine blessing protecting his soul. He believed the main character was defenseless. Gritting his teeth, he vowed to punish the boy's ultimate arrogance. He wanted Yunhun to pay the ultimate price. Little did he know, Yunhun was having tea with Archangel Michael himself. The Archangel's body radiated a blinding, holy light that transcended all mortal dimensions. A magical table appeared out of thin air. The main character was stunned to meet such a high-ranking being. Michael didn't waste time with small talk. He went straight to the point regarding the recent scandalous rumors. Yunhun immediately understood. The Archangel was questioning his suspicious connection to the King of Hell, Satan. Knowing these two sides were eternal enemies, he quickly clarified that he hadn't joined forces with demons. He had no intention of forming alliances with Hell. He was surprised his tiny channel caught Heaven's attention. It turned out the heavenly hosts had already investigated him thoroughly. They confirmed he wasn't Satan's secret lover. They knew there was no romantic bond, but the lingering vibe between him and Satan was too suspicious. Without hiding anything, Yunhun recounted that fateful encounter during the welcome banquet to the great Archangel. But how could a commander of heaven believe him? Why would Satan gift a priceless fruit for nothing? It was even harder to believe that Yunhun had rejected Satan's overwhelming offer of direct sponsorship. To any other storyteller, that was a dream, but Yunhun's honesty finally convinced the great Michael. Michael nodded, agreeing that staying away from that demonic CEO was the smartest choice he could make. However, Michael then made an even more shocking proposal. He offered Heaven's own sponsorship for the channel. The main character had anticipated this. They had sent their top commander just to recruit one lowly human. Heaven possessed the strongest military force in the multiverse. Their reputation and influence were absolutely peerless. It was an incredible offer, yet Yunhun calmly declined. He knew they just wanted to control him. He wasn't foolish enough to become anyone's puppet. He chose to remain a neutral, independent storyteller. He wanted his tales to be unique and untainted. He didn't need any divine backing to reach the top. To prove his integrity, he told Michael to just keep watching his channel for any signs of betrayal. Although Michael was a divine entity without mortal desires, he couldn't resist a truly compelling story. Beneath his cold, stoic exterior, the Archangel was actually more curious than a gossiping neighbor. He decided to keep an eye on Yunhun to see how his legendary journey would unfold. Before departing, as a sign of respect for the main character's time, Michael left a parting gift. He vowed to watch Yunhun closely to see how his stories would evolve. As a reward for his time, the Archangel gave the main character a gift, a divine egg. It was covered in glowing holy runes. Suddenly, the main character had become a mother. Single-handedly incubating the egg, the young man dreams of a majestic dragon. A powerful pet companion would be the ultimate flex, but reality hits fast. Cracks suddenly spiderweb across the shell as everyone watches with bated breath. It is no dragon, but a chubby owl. His dreams of grandeur instantly crumble. While the girls squeal at the cuteness, our hero mourns his missing legendary beast. This useless-looking pet immediately claims the master's head as its personal throne. Michan sent this owl specifically to mock Satan, as owls are natural snake hunters. It comes with a tiny skill book, but sadly, it is only bronze rank. Resigned to his fate, Yunhun names the little fella 𝑣𝒐𝒏 and accepts fatherhood. Following the mental realm conquest, their fame has reached an absolute fever pitch. While others struggle to survive, he clears dungeons alone, earning the title Destroyer. Seeing players rush to level up before Harem sweeps the floor is pitiful. Opening his channel, the viewer count explodes to over 2,000 in seconds. Subscribers hit over 1,100, but the chaos begins immediately. Messages flood the screen, completely obscuring the main character's handsome face. Annoyed, he decides to lay down the law before blocking the entire chat. Rule 1, no factions. Rule 2, do not mention other streamers or guilds. Any insults or toxicity will result in an immediate and permanent ban. He only responds to top comments now, quickly catching a hater in action. With one click, the troll is gone. Finally, some peace and quiet. He wonders if anyone else dares to challenge his authority today. Suddenly, a wealthy viewer offers 1,000 points to unblock a friend. But rules are absolute. If he wavers now, his authority will crumble. The mysterious donor sends 10,000 points, sparking the main character's curiosity. Who is this arrogant big spender? The name Ares of the Sunset Sea sounds cheesy. Only a hidden tycoon or a high-ranking being could throw money like this. It is the White Dragon of the East Sea, a legendary constellation of heaven. Yunhun is shocked that such a prominent figure is watching his humble channel. He offers a professional greeting, acknowledging the Dragon King's magnificent presence. Another 10,000 points drop with a warning to watch his arrogant tone. Our hero flatly refuses to submit, leaving the entire chat room in silence. Enraged, the Dragon King throws more points, demanding to know why he is rejected. Anyone else would kneel before a god, but Yunhun is built differently. No amount of gold will make him break the laws of his own channel. He stands firm against divine pressure, proving his stubborn and iron-willed nature. The system warns of the White Dragon's fury as the sky turns dark. Storm clouds gather in the real world, a terrifying display of celestial power. Proving he pushed the old dragon too far, the atmosphere trembles with rage. Suddenly, a red light descends as the Genesis system activates to protect him. A message appears from the arrogant god, calling him a mere lowly storyteller. The deity claims money can solve everything, and if not, more money will. A barrage of spam follows, each donation mocking the main character's resolve. Yunhun simply smiles and hits the block button, banishing the god instantly. With a cheeky farewell, he severs the connection to the legendary constellation. The viewers are speechless. No one has ever dared to block a Dragon King. The old god's fury exploded. Despite the ban, his toxic chat window flickered back to life with venomous insults. Sparks of divine electricity surged as Yunhun watched in shock. The Dragon King had bypassed the system's absolute authority. "How dare a lowly narrator mock me?" the god roared. He was livid after being kicked out post-donation. The old tyrant screamed threats, but Yunhun didn't flinch. He remained cold, refusing to be intimidated by a god. He stood his ground, asserting he was simply enforcing the rules against a guest who had crossed the line. This fueled the old man's bloodlust. He looked ready to tear Yunhun apart and feast on his soul. Just as the tension peaked, a legendary user named Maun appeared. The chat began to glow with celestial light. Suddenly, the Genesis system roared to life. Notifications began flooding the screen, identifying a high-level violation in progress. The target was locked, the Dragon King of the Twilight Seas. The system prepared to deliver a divine judgment. A bolt of holy white lightning struck the chat window, silencing the long Vuong with a devastating, soul-shaking blast. Even high spirits trembled before the Genesis system's power. It was an authority no divine being dared to challenge. The stubborn god was effectively hospitalized and forcibly booted out. Peace finally returned to the MC's private library. After the chaotic ordeal, a bright smile returned to Yunhun's face. He looked refreshed and ready for business. He issued a stern warning to his viewers, using the Dragon King as a grim example for future troublemakers. With the drama over, Yunhun signaled for Hirim to reveal herself. The fans went absolutely wild for the Sword Queen. "Blade Goddess, take my soul," the crowd cheered. The duo then set off toward the dangerous Doland marshlands. Surrounded by colossal mushrooms, their first mission was to locate the hidden borders of this strange, swampy realm. Before they could start, a suspicious party approached. They were clearly hunting for clout and a free ride. Despite the duo's cold reception, the leader kept talking. He was trying to act smooth, but looked totally pathetic. He claimed they lost 2 members and needed Yunhun's help. These fools clearly didn't know who they were approaching. Hirim wanted to refuse immediately. She was here for spiritual growth, not to carry some greedy, money-hungry mercenaries. But before she could speak, Yunhun shockingly agreed to join. Hirim was left speechless and utterly confused by him. Her eyes darted to a blonde girl in the rival party. The girl had a killer body and eyes full of envy. Feeling insecure about her own curves, Hirim pouted with visible jealousy. She hated being outshone in the looks department. She grumbled through the introductions. Once the group moved ahead, Hirim exploded into a hilariously dramatic, pouting fit. "I just eat a little too much sometimes," she cried, vowing to diet until she was as curvy as that girl. Yunhun ignored her nonsense. His expression turned grave as he leaned in to whisper a chilling secret to her. "Watch your back," he warned. "That group isn't here to hunt. They are notorious scavengers, the trash of the realm." Deep in the swamp, a mangled corpse lay rotting. It was a grim testament to the group's true nature. The same 4 people were now laughing, clutching the victim's stolen loot with disgusting, greedy grins on their faces. These scavengers make a living by murdering collectors. They steal artifacts and stories from anyone unlucky enough to meet them. They had already marked Yunhun and Hirim as their next targets. This wasn't just a robbery, it was an execution. They planned to wait for the perfect moment to strike, kill the duo, and vanish with their legendary stories. Hirim's eyes sparkled. She was amazed he knew. Yunhun explained the obvious signs that gave them away. "They said they were hunting," he noted, "yet their gear is spotless. In a muddy swamp, that's impossible." Even with the water reaching their ankles, these hunters didn't have a single drop of filth on their expensive clothes. Their acting was amateur hour. No sane person invites a complete stranger into their party in such a deadly zone. Hirim was still baffled. If he knew they were cold-blooded killers, why did he ever accept their invitation? Yunhun didn't answer. Instead, he turned to his divine viewers and issued a bold challenge to the chat. "If you were in my shoes, would you run or fight?" he asked. The bloodthirsty viewers roared for total destruction. The chat exploded with demands to crush the scammers. They wanted to see the villains beg for their lives. This was exactly what Yunhun wanted. He would feign ignorance and walk straight into their trap to lure them out. He would let them think they were the predators until the final moment. Then, he would deliver a lethal counterstrike. Leading them on was too easy. These fools truly believed they were the ones in control of the situation. Overconfident and delusional, they were about to learn a terrifying lesson. Never hunt a man who commands the gods. Our protagonist watched the scene unfold, his mind sharp as a blade. Ahead, a gargantuan monstrosity loomed. The beast, wearing a lotus flower as a mocking crown, was instantly erased. Aram's lethal precision left everyone speechless. The traitors didn't dare move, relying entirely on her protection. Their greedy smirks were now masked by cold sweat. The Sword Queen's overwhelming power was terrifying. Their plan to backstab the party was falling apart before their eyes. Sensing the perfect moment, Yunhun diverted from the path. He claimed personal business, setting a trap for the rats. The bearded leader seized the opportunity, claiming the area was too dangerous. He sent his young errand boy along. Leaving Aram behind, the gray-haired boy flinched. He quickly realized this was part of their sinister plan and nodded. Using a divine telepathic link with his contractor, Yunhun signaled Aram. He warned her that the snakes were moving. He ordered her to remain calm but strike instantly if needed. Behind him, the boy followed with trembling steps. Seeing the kid's anxiety, Yunhun smirked. He could read these villains like a filthy, blood-stained manuscript. Their souls reeked of corruption, all except for this boy. He was just a coward caught in a nightmare. As expected, the child wasn't truly evil. His voice shook with terror as he begged Yunhun to escape. "Run, they are cold-blooded killers." He confessed how they had forced him into this dark assassination plot. Haunted by death threats, the boy was paralyzed by fear. Yet his conscience wouldn't let an innocent man die. He spilled everything. A famous storyteller from a top bureau had hired these thugs for a hit job. Yunhun's smile widened with dark interest. He had planned to end them, but this was getting fun. He returned to the camp to find the tables turned. The 3 thugs lay broken and battered on the ground. The boy stared in disbelief at the bruised faces of his masters. "Oh God, what happened here?" he gasped. At Yunhun's command, the thugs stopped faking their unconsciousness. Their pathetic acting couldn't hide their absolute terror. Seeing Yunhun unharmed, the leader's face turned pale. He lashed out, cursing the boy for the betrayal. His venomous rant was cut short by a heavy boot. Yunhun crushed his shoulder, drawing a scream of agony. This monk was a level 7 scavenger, a serial killer with a body count over 10, a true monster. He was a specialist in assault, extortion, and human trafficking. Yunhun exposed every single one of his crimes. Looking down with icy disdain, the main character demanded the client's name. Despite the beating, the monk stayed silent. He laughed, mocking Yunhun's resolve. He didn't fear the law, thinking a prison cell was his only fate. His arrogant barking finally pushed Yunhun over the edge. It was time for a lesson in true terror. With a flash of steel, the lackey beside him was silenced. The monk's bravado vanished in an instant. Staring into Yunhun's maddened eyes, they realized their mistake. They had provoked a god, not a man. They began to grovel, desperate for a mercy they never showed. But Yunhun raised his blade once more. Before the killing blow fell, a hand gripped his wrist. Aram stepped in, her eyes burning with resolve. He thought she was playing the righteous hero, but Aram wasn't there to save them. She wanted the kill. With a single, decisive strike, she changed his perspective. This wasn't the same girl from the beginning. "Leave the leader to me," she muttered with icy contempt. After the siege of Constantinople, she knew the cost. The enemy's constant barking finally snapped Yunhun's patience. He was done listening to their pathetic threats. With one cold, lightning-fast strike, he ended a life, a brutal lesson for those who dared challenge him. The once arrogant bully froze, his face contorting into a mask of pure, unadulterated terror and confusion. Yunhun's eyes burned with a madness that terrified them. They realized too late they had provoked a monster. Desperation set in. They fell to their knees, begging and weeping for a mercy that wasn't coming. Their pleas fell on deaf ears. Yunhun raised his blade again, ready to end the farce once and for all. Suddenly, a hand caught his wrist. Hirim stopped him, her grip firm and her expression unreadable. He assumed she was acting out of justice, hoping to stop a senseless, cold-blooded slaughter. But he was wrong. Hirim didn't stop him to save them. She wanted to finish them herself. With a single lethal strike, she changed his perspective forever. She wasn't just a partner, she was a killer. Looking at the last survivor with pure contempt, she declared, "Leave this one to me." Since the Battle of Constantinople, she knew she had to do whatever it took to reach the top. The killer instinct in her eyes was so overwhelming that the target nearly lost control of his bladder. Even with death looming, his mouth kept running, warning her of regret, but Yunhun quickly silenced his pathetic threats. Negotiation was never an option. Drenched in cold sweat, the man desperately tried to play his final, crumbling hand. He claimed his knowledge of the mastermind was his life insurance, but Yunhun already held all the winning cards. Identifying the culprit as the corrupt executive from the Celestial Corporation, Yunhun left the traitor completely speechless and paralyzed. The man's face went pale with disbelief. He couldn't grasp how his secret dealings were laid bare so easily. With a cold shrug, he walked away, leaving the prey to Hirim's mercy, which, as it turned out, was non-existent. Before she even moved, the man's desperate wails filled the air, begging for a life he had already forfeited. Harem's eyes burned with a murderous light, showing zero pity for a bottom feeder who didn't deserve a second chance. Terror froze his heart as tears streamed down, meeting Yunhun's chilling, triumphant gaze one last time before the end. A sharp sound echoed as she claimed his head. The arrogant elite, who once looked down on everyone, was finished. Facing a brutal reality, their superiority complex crumbled into nothingness, revealing the ugly truth beneath their twisted sense of justice. Watching this chaotic justice unfold, the main character couldn't help but let out a dark, almost twisted laugh of satisfaction. Having survived the filth of this world before, he was no longer the victim. He had finally become the predator. Is this what becoming a monster feels like? Perhaps, but it was a transformation he embraced with a satisfied, haunting grin. The divine viewers were thrilled by the carnage, but the young, gray-haired boy was paralyzed by the sheer, unfiltered horror. Gasping for air with trembling legs, the boy collapsed, his world shattering as he witnessed the true cost of survival. Surrounded by fresh corpses, the weight of the massacre hit him, leaving him trembling on the cold, blood-stained ground. Stunned into silence, the boy's mind went blank, only able to mutter his sister's name through a veil of terror. He had gathered his courage just to warn them, never imagining it would trigger such a ruthless and bloody slaughter. Breaking into hysterical sobs, he demanded to know why they had to be so heartless, unable to accept the violence. He didn't see a savior, only a monster chosen by the gods, a narrator blessed with powers he could never reach. While the main character wielded divine strength, this boy was just a normal human desperately clawing for one more day. Sensing the boy's confusion, Yunhun offered a harsh truth. He was once exactly like him, ordinary and utterly powerless. The difference? He stopped accepting his fate. He chose to stand up and seize what he needed by any means. Survival demanded a sacrifice he was willing to pay, but his words fell on deaf ears as the boy kept weeping. The boy blamed his lack of luck despite his hard work, but reality in this world is far more cruel than effort. Nobody cares about minor struggles. To survive, you must shatter your old perspective and force the world to recognize your existence. If you want to live, you must change how you see the world before the world completely erases your very soul. After finishing his cold lecture, the main character and harem departed, leaving the boy alone with his grief and despair. Their next goal was the Shadow Marsh, where a massive, man-eating illusion flower awaited their arrival as the region's boss. With lethal grace, Harem launched herself into the air, bringing down a devastating strike that split the monstrous plant in two. The system announced their victory. The Shadow Marsh was cleared, granting them 3,000 talent points as a reward. As the mental realm faded, mysterious glowing runes swirled around Harem, signaling the end of their intense supernatural trial. Every trace of the spiritual world vanished, leaving only their physical wounds and the spoils of war as proof of victory. Harem quickly sensed something was off. The main character seemed unusually somber, lost in a sea of heavy, dark thoughts. The image of that weeping boy wouldn't leave his mind, haunting him like a ghost from a past he outran. He thought the boy was a lost cause, yet the kid's status book had unexpectedly begun to evolve and grow stronger. Returning home, they were met with wails of despair from people who had lost their mental training sanctuary to harem. Their source of power was gone, leaving them to weep a river of tears, though the main character couldn't care less. Ignoring the mob, they retreated to their room, where Harem excitedly opened her status window to check her new rewards. Intrigued by her rapid growth, the main character leaned in, eager to see how much her power had actually increased. Looking at the data, Yun-hun fell into deep thought. The numbers on the screen didn't make any sense at all. Despite Harem's ability to one-shot bosses, her basic stats remained shockingly low, defying every logical rule of the system. A massive discrepancy had appeared. It seemed the status windows for narrators and collectors operated on entirely different, hidden laws. A status window that refuses to reflect your true potential, no matter how hard you struggle, those pathetic numbers. are set in stone by the system. Usually there are no mistakes, but something here feels strangely manipulated. It's as if a hidden hand is meddling with destiny. Yunhun once blamed the apocalypse on divine negligence. But he can no longer ignore the possibility of a puppet master, orchestrating Earth's destruction from the shadows. For now, it's just a theory. But if an entity is truly plotting the world's end from the dark, the thought makes him turn dead serious, sending a chill down Hirim's spine. Yet instead of fear, a sinister, excited grin spreads across Yunhun's face. He's more than ready to sweep away this hidden trash. Suddenly, news of a national TV interview breaks, leaving Hirim absolutely floored and shaking with shock. In this era, top-tier collectors are treated like A-list idols, so media fame is just part of the job. But Hirim isn't the spotlight type. She starts wailing about her lack of social skills until money is mentioned. The moment she hears the paycheck, her attitude flips faster than a coin. Greed replaces her fear instantly. Meanwhile, Yunhun is fixated on a piece of junk. His manager is confused by his obsession with scrap. It looks like a rusted toothpick from a bargain bin, purchased for a single, measly 1 TP point. Hirim scans the item, and the status window reveals its true identity. Salio's cleansing sword, an ancient holy relic. Salio is a legendary name across the multiverse. Despite the Empire's fall 1,000 years ago, its legacy remains. They were masters of Magi tech, blending sorcery with machinery. This garbage sword is actually a priceless artifact. Yunhun knows its future worth better than anyone. It's a unique masterpiece that will never be found again. He immediately orders Hirim to master its core arts to ascend to mid-tier status as soon as possible. Her physical stats already rival the elite, but her technical mastery hasn't caught up to her raw, gifted power. Thanks to her innate talent, she skipped years of grinding, but now she needs a high-level curriculum to evolve. Ultimate secret techniques are usually bankruptingly expensive, but Yunhun has a discount strategy hidden up his sleeve. First, they hunt for the thunder movement within a low-tier manual. Hirim opens the dimensional gate to search. Next, he targets the mid-tier Raging Lightning passive skill. To round it out, they need the thunderclap technique. Hirim breaks into a cold sweat. These specific skills are infamous for being absolute trash that no one wants. Thunder movement is uncontrollable, and the passive skill usually fries the user's hair off with massive surges. As for Thunderclap, it's a legendary sword strike with 0 instructions, basically a suicide mission to learn. Hirim panics, wondering if she'll even survive this insane training. But then, Yunhun activates his ultimate weapon. He unleashes a dazzling, filtered, pretty boy smile that hits Hirim like a truck, being a sucker for visuals. She instantly buys all 3 skills without a second thought. 3 spheres of light emerge, ready for absorption. As the energy merges with her body, Hirim's frame begins to convulse violently, sparking with lethal high-voltage arcs. The shockwave is so intense that even the nearby manager's hair stands on end. This is the moment. Yunhun lunges forward, thrusting the rusted, worthless blade directly into the lightning storm enveloping Hirim's body. As the sword drinks in her overflowing power, its form begins to shift and sharpen into something truly divine. The rusted shell shatters, revealing its magnificent original form. The manager's eyes sparkle at the sight of such beauty. Even Yunhun is impressed by the blade's peak craftsmanship. Meanwhile, Hirim opens her eyes, her gaze now razor-sharp. The trash curriculum was absorbed. Surprisingly, she felt 0 pain, despite the terrifying rumors surrounding those skills. She quickly checks her status window. The 3 separate skills are gone. In their place stands a single, terrifying ultimate. The Heavenly Thunder Sword technique. This fused power far surpasses any high-tier manual on the market today. Her eyes glow with excitement. Noticing a dangerous glint in her stare, Yunhun instinctively dodges to the side. Hirim tries to launch a celebratory hug at her handsome mentor, but after failing, she awkwardly changes the subject. Checking her stats, The 3 separate skills have vanished, replaced by an awakening that defies all logic. A composite ultimate skill, Heavenly Thunder Sword. This single technique makes top-tier manuals look like child's play. Hirim's eyes sparkle with newfound power. Seeing the dangerous excitement in her gaze, Yunhun senses a hit. He quickly sidesteps as Hirim lunges forward to hug him in joy. After her failed attempt at physical contact, she tries to cover her embarrassment by loudly rambling about the sword. Yunhun just shakes his head. Yunho recognizes it instantly, a legendary hidden weapon. To avoid unwanted attention, he quickly conceals the blade's divine glow. Harim's sharp eyes catch the shift. She immediately drags Yunho aside, demanding a private conversation away from prying eyes. She sees right through him. He wasn't being kind. He was simply using Harim as a living mana battery for that sword. Forget friendship or loyalty. He only cared because he feared his office would explode from a sudden mana surge. No more living under bridges. Suddenly, a high-priority notification pings. They've finally tracked down the elusive Choi Do-yeon. The news hits like a lightning bolt. Yunho doesn't waste a second, racing toward the location with frantic intensity. In this second life, he vowed to avoid that bastard. Yet, Do-yeon remains a curse he can't seem to escape. Like a toxic obsession, that name haunts Yunho's every thought. He arrives to confront the manager, seeking the cold truth. The manager is blunt, demanding to know the connection between Yunho and the mysterious Do-yeon. Once assured they are strangers, the manager relaxes. He pulls a worn photograph from his pocket, his expression grim. Seeing that hated face again makes Yunho's blood boil. He leaps up, desperate to pinpoint the man's current location. The investigation reveals a chilling fact. 10 years ago, during the Great Multiverse Link, Do-yeon vanished without a trace. Earth was integrated into the divine system that day. Amidst the chaos, that man simply ceased to exist in this realm. Yunho stands frozen in disbelief. How could his ultimate target have disappeared before the real game even began? The manager confirms the status. Do-yeon is officially a vanished one from the infamous 99-day revolutionary coup. These vanished ones are ghosts of a broken era, when our physical world collided with the infinite multiverse. The collision shattered reality itself. Every illusion died as stories manifested into a terrifying, new physical existence. Humans call it the Day of Thought Unity. But while the world leveled up, many souls were snatched from reality. To this day, the fate of the vanished remains a dark mystery, a question mark hovering over the New World Order. Scholars believe they were pulled into other dimensions. Most assume those who left Earth are gone for good. Occasionally, a few crawl back to our reality, but usually they return as mangled corpses, barely fit for burial. The lucky survivors are even worse. They return as twisted monsters, having traded their human souls for forbidden power. Yunho's face turns deathly pale. He knows the future. He knows some vanished ones will return as unstoppable threats. Some will return unscathed, but the time isn't right. Not yet. The pieces of the puzzle start falling into place. It's clear now. Do-yeon used that missing time to buy a VIP pass to power, preparing for Earth's final judgment. But there's a lead, Do-yeon's elderly mother. For 10 agonizing years, she has never stopped searching for her lost son. Hearing that someone was looking for him, the old woman begged for a meeting. Yunho feels a pang of guilt. This brings back memories of his own parents. In this timeline, they are alive, yet he feels like a stranger. If he is now a storyteller from the future, what happened to the original Yunho of this current era? He has been reborn, but surely a version of his past self must still exist somewhere in this vast world. He aches to see his family, but shame holds him back. To them, he was nothing but a pathetic, low-life scammer. Snap out of it. Harim's voice breaks his trance. She drags his wandering soul back to the cold, hard present. Having nothing better to do, she decides to tag along. She wants to see the drama unfold firsthand. Near the manager's office, Yunho hesitates. His feet feel like lead as his past and future begin to collide. He sacrificed everything to reach this point, while seeing his parents shatter his resolve to dominate this world. He recalls their happy times together. Stealing his heart, he vows not to run away, even if they reject him. He makes his choice. Accompanied by Harim, he heads out to face the ghosts of his previous life. Harim is fascinated. She's never met a storyteller this humble, or one with such a heavy, hidden burden. Her curiosity piques. Who could possibly move the heart of a man as cold and calculated as Yunho? Watching him praise his family, Harim wonders if she ever had anyone who looked at her with such love. Yunho considers using his silver book to read her past, but he quickly pulls his hand back in hesitation. Invading her privacy feels wrong. Instead, he simply asks her about her own family and where she came from. With a bright, empty smile, Harim reveals the truth. She has no one left. She is truly alone. She wasn't born from stone, but her father abandoned them for another life before she could even walk. She became a human punching bag for her mother's misplaced rage. Every childhood memory is marked by a scar. Caution filled her steps as she entered that house, a tomb of rotting trash and forgotten memories. The scene was a nightmare. Harim's eyes fell upon her mother's cold and lifeless body. Orphaned and alone, she endured years of torment and bullying within those cold orphanage walls. She told this tragedy with a haunting smile, a mask that left our hero utterly speechless. He wanted to shout, but could only offer soft words to soothe her fractured soul. Harim stood on a mental precipice, a single memory, away from a total emotional collapse. This wasn't the legendary Sword Queen. He knew that warrior was a mountain of unshakable resolve. Yunhun feared for her future, worrying this trauma would shatter the hero she was meant to be. I will be your shield. He promised you are never walking this dark path alone again. His warmth reached her, and a genuine smile finally broke through her wall of sorrow. They returned to his old neighborhood, where the neon signs and narrow alleys remained frozen in time. The world was unchanged, yet Yunhun felt like a complete stranger in his own past. Passing the park, where he once skipped school, memories of his rebellious youth came rushing back. Suddenly, a girl bolted past and slammed into him, fleeing from a mother's righteous fury. He froze in shock. Her face was a perfect mirror image of his own features. A sharp scream pierced the air, Kang Yona, making them both jump in startled surprise. A middle-aged woman appeared, unleashing a storm of classic Asian, motherly scolding like a pro. Mother, he whispered, but she only bowed, deeply apologizing for her daughter's clumsy behavior. His reality shattered, seeing a stranger's politeness where a mother's love should have been. He clenched his fists, realizing he had been replaced in the life he once called his. His mother's gaze lingered, sensing a strange and haunting familiarity in this handsome young stranger. Yunhun's face was a ghost from the past, making her heart stir with confusion. The young girl's eyes shifted to Harim, and her jaw dropped in pure frantic adoration. Total fangirl mode activated, she turned bright red, realizing the legendary Sword Queen was standing there. Seeking autographs and photos, Yona's excitement bridged the gap between these two different worlds. Wanting to linger, Yunhun introduced himself as a high-ranking narrator from the Celestial Corporation. He spoke with pride, showing his mother that he had become someone truly magnificent. Yona's eyes sparkled with greed, but the mother saw the image of her late husband. The resemblance was uncanny, a living shadow of the man she had loved and lost. Should he reveal the truth, or let this new family live in their peaceful ignorance? Yona begged for a contract, desperate to awaken as a collector, but he refused instantly. You lack the spark, he said coldly. No amount of training can fix zero talent. His mother joined in lecturing Yona that some dreams are just dangerous, empty illusions. Hard truths are bitter, and her words cut through the girl's blind and reckless ambition. Tears welled up in Yona's eyes, and she fled into the park in a fit of rage. The mother sighed, embarrassed by her daughter's childish outburst in front of such prestigious guests. She worried for the girl, who only saw the glory and ignored the mountain of corpses. For every success, 1,000 die in the shadows. It is a path of blood. A mother knows best Yona simply wasn't built for the brutality of the hunter's world. Yun-hun remembered those same warnings. His mother had once begged him to stay safe. Go find her, he told Harem. She is at the park. She needs a friend. Once alone, he turned to his mother, speaking with the weight of 1,000 secrets. Dreams are beautiful, she whispered, but a parent's reality is the fear of losing everything. Being a collector is a dance with death, a life where every day could be your last. No mother wants to see her child's name written on a cold and lonely memorial stone. Having endured it himself, Yun-hun knew the truth. He urged the mother not to stifle her child's path. She needed to see the brutal reality of this job. Only then could she understand a mother's true fear. If the girl still chose this path despite the suffering, then let her. That is the only way. Only then would her mother witness the fire of her daughter's passion. Yun-hun remembered his own cold past. He never felt his mother's warmth. Now, he'd save this girl from his own tragic fate and change history. Clenching his fists, he spoke with conviction. I urge you to place your faith in her once more. If you let her chase her dream, the day will come when she becomes the hero of her story. The mother stood frozen in shock. Those were the exact words she used to tell Yuna in private. How could Yun-hun know every single word? Stunned, she nodded in agreement, finally letting her daughter go. She realized she was suffocating her child's talent. Meanwhile, Rim returned with a pouting and angry Yuna. Seeing her tear-streaked face and bottled-up frustration, Yun-hun knew he had to speak with her alone immediately. He asked why she wanted to be a collector. Yuna's eyes sparkled. It is for the fame and the money. She wanted to be a superstar. As expected, she had no clue how many lives this profession claimed daily. She did not see the blood behind the glory. Even the legendary heroes she admired walked on a razor's edge. This path is a one-life game. One mistake, and you log out of existence forever. It is a death trap. But Yuna did not fear death. She only feared she was not good enough to even start her journey. Seeing her resolve, Yun-hun offered his support. Sometimes, one person's belief is the ultimate divine power-up. A single word of encouragement can rewrite destiny. And just like that, the impossible happened before their eyes. Yuna's copper notebook suddenly erupted in a blinding, divine light. The system had finally recognized her hidden potential. With everything settled, they prepared to leave. But the mother's intuition warned her that something was deeply wrong. She watched Yun-hun with lingering doubt. Rim's private talk with Yuna had changed the atmosphere completely. Suddenly, she chased after him, breathing heavily. She had forgotten to say something vital to the young man. Before he could ask, she pulled him into a sudden, warm embrace. She whispered, "You have worked so hard." Her words shattered his cold armor. Yun-hun's eyes welled up as his resolve to stay distant vanished. He tried to be a stranger, but his trembling hands reached out, desperate for the warmth of a mother. He watched her walk away, praying for her peace. In this life, he would stop the coming apocalypse. His gaze was filled with steel. He would change the future and prevent the world's end at any cost. Meanwhile, the villainous boss was losing his mind. His elite mercenaries had been wiped out by Yun-hun. He raged like a lunatic, realizing his plan was failing. But then, a high-ranking fairy appeared before him. She mocked his pathetic failure with a laugh. The boss turned pale, trembling before his terrifyingly powerful superior. She faked a sorrowful tear for her fallen colleagues, playing the part of a tragic actress perfectly. Then her face shifted. Her eyes glowed like a predator's. She looked at him with pure, murderous intent. An invisible weight crushed him. He was forced to the ground, his head smashing into the cracked floor. He was powerless against her divine authority. By signing that contract, he had handed over his very soul. The Bureau now controlled his channel entirely. He would remain a puppet until he reached the rank of senior partner. The mention of his failed task made the bearded manager turn pale, his eyes darting away in fear. The little fairy descended, her voice dripping with venom. "I trusted you, yet you failed me so miserably." She shed a single, perfect tear, a performance more dramatic than any actress. Her sorrow was a death sentence. When he tried to deny his betrayal, the fairy's playful mask shattered into a cold, murderous glare. Her eyes glowed like a predator's in the dark. She looked at him as if he were mere prey. An invisible, crushing pressure slammed the man down, forcing him to grovel on the floor in agony. He was powerless, his head smashed into the ground, cracking the very foundation of the room. Ever since he signed with the Bureau, the fairy had held total dominion over his soul and channel. To regain his freedom, he had to become a high-level collaborator. Until then, he was her puppet. With a snap of her fingers, the fairy gathered all the failures into a single, inescapable death trap. With a simple snap of her fingers, the crushing pressure vanished. The lecherous old fox was granted one last chance. He had to eliminate Yun-hun. This time, she offered a forbidden boost, a secret system service fueled by points. The little fairy proposed a high-stakes gamble, a storyteller's duel for ultimate control over the streaming channel. The old man trembled, fearing the Sword Queen's overwhelming fame, but a dark opportunity was about to present itself. The fairy promised him an elite weapon, a top-tier collector from the mysterious Pentagon Star branch. These hidden agents were forged in shadows, a secret division never whispered of in the outside world. Despite being fresh recruits, their lethal skills were more than enough to crush any mid-ranking collector. Hearing this, his eyes gleamed with malice. He tightened his fist, ready to reclaim his lost pride. He swore to dethrone the Sword Queen and seize Yun-hun's channel. Meanwhile, our hero remained blissfully unaware. Yun-hun was focused on his craft, meticulously polishing his blade. He began carving mana circuits with a mystical horn. Suddenly, the steel erupted in a blinding radiance. The system's screen flickered to life before his eyes. The ancient 𝑳𝒊𝒗𝒆𝒔𝒕𝒓𝒆𝒂𝒎 blade has evolved. It has transformed into a fabled Magic Empire artifact. Success, 100 talent points earned for the perfect mana engraving. A new legend was being forged. You have obtained the engraver's chronicle. The sword's appearance shifted, radiating a divine, majestic aura. This was the true form of the 𝑳𝒊𝒗𝒆𝒂𝒎 longsword. Yun-hun quickly checked the updated status window. The critical hit rate soared, and the damage output reached insane new heights. It even gained shape-shifting abilities. However, the most powerful hidden skills remained sealed behind a level requirement. He was still too weak. His current level was barely scratching the surface. The sword's true potential was still deep in slumber. A chilling warning appeared. This weapon holds a massive ego. It could be his salvation or his doom. The blade contained a latent, overwhelming consciousness. Just as he read those words, the metal began to thrum. The longsword vibrated violently before escaping his grip, hovering in midair as a tiny, excited voice echoed out. "Oh yeah, finally I'm free." A small head popped out of the blade, holding a silver grimoire. This was the ego of the ancient sword. After centuries of death-like sleep, the spirit had finally awakened. As soon as she saw her new master was a storyteller, she nearly jumped out of her skin. "A storyteller? Why do you need a sword? Are you going to sell me to some junk dealer?" Once she realized Yun-hun intended to wield her personally, her suspicion turned into pure curiosity. Despite being an ancient artifact, the little spirit was surprisingly clueless. She didn't even remember her own name. Since Yun-hun was the one who woke her, the right to grant a name fell solely to him. His skill as a master engraver allowed him to weave a name into her very essence. Inspired by the blade's pure glow, he named her White Lotus, a name as beautiful as it was deadly. As the name took hold, a refreshing, icy power surged forth, swirling around Yun-hun in a mystical dance. The contract was sealed. A divine bond was formed as light poured into his soul. He could feel her ancient chronicle flowing through his veins. The system messages began to spam his vision. "Alert, you have acquired the story, heir of the forgotten. The ancient ego has fully synchronized." But as Yun-hun's own life story flowed into White Lotus, the little spirit froze in absolute terror. "What, a regressor?" she shrieked. "You have actually died once already." Yun-hun broke out in a cold sweat. His greatest secret, The fact that he came from the future was out. Realizing he couldn't hide the truth from his own soul-bound weapon, he decided to come clean. He explained everything. White Lotus listened intently as the pieces of the puzzle began to fit together. She finally understood how this human knew exactly where to find her using his memories of the future. A normal master could never have fully awakened her spirit, only a fragment at most. But thanks to Yun Hun's unique blacksmith and engraver traits, her true form was reborn. White Lotus danced with joy. Having a storyteller as a master was far more prestigious than a mere collector. She felt like the luckiest spirit in existence. This master was definitely going to be legendary. She grabbed his finger with her tiny hands, finalizing the soul link. The true journey was just beginning. Yun Hun restarts his divine stream, and instantly, 2,163 viewers flood the channel. Just as he prepares to share a new tale, a sudden shout cuts through the digital air. It is that arrogant goat-beard rival, barging in to demand a high-stakes storytelling duel right now. The chat erupts in chaos. Today's stream just turned into a battlefield of legendary narrative proportions. This isn't a mere chat. It is a war of stories, a power only true masters can wield. Only those from the ancient Firmament Company possess the secrets of this high-stakes narrative combat style. Nearby, the White Lotus ego soul floats silently. Only the sword's true master can witness her ethereal form. While she roams freely, the duel's fate rests entirely on the collector and their storyteller's soul. The rules are absolute. The victor legally seizes the loser's entire channel and their divine influence. The old man smirks with arrogance, convinced that our young hero has finally been cornered like prey. But with a bright, mocking smile, Yun Hun flatly refuses, leaving everyone completely stunned by his audacity. He crosses his arms confidently. I have no time to waste on a dying fossil like you. White Lotus panics, fearing a refusal will brand him a coward and ruin his rising reputation forever. No big deal, Yun Hun laughs. A little damaged pride is better than wasting energy on trash. Yet the old man's persistence forces a heavy sigh. The trap was set deep within the shadows. Yun Hun realizes the old fox is using the audience to pressure him into this rigged game. He exposes the scheme instantly. The watching constellations are now boiling with divine rage at being used. How dare you manipulate us? The chat floods with fury, leaving the old man trembling and exposed. After humiliating his rival, Yun Hun suddenly changes his mind. Why not have some fun today, then? He wants Harem to shine. A clash between a veteran star and a rising legend begins now. But there is one condition. Yun Hun demands a bet that makes even the old man hesitate. His gambler's spirit ignites. Let's put everything on the line. Our very lives are now on the table. The audience is shocked. Is Yun Hun insane, or does he possess a power they cannot fathom? The old man eagerly accepts, believing he has finally lured the sheep into his deadly slaughterhouse. The system intervenes as the official judge. This is now a formal life-or-death storytelling duel. High above, the little fairy watches with lustful interest. Such a handsome face shouldn't be wasted, surely. But she won't stop the carnage. Rules are absolute in this divine, twisted game of the gods. Harem is terrified, but Yun Hun has already calculated every single move of this entire encounter. He plans to flex the legendary White Lotus sword's true power before all the watching constellations. Though framed as a one-on-one, the rival brought his entire faction to back his narrative strike. One against many. To Yun Hun, they are nothing but empty cans making a lot of noise. The old man thinks he knows Yun Hun's limits, but he has no idea who he's facing. Even the mastermind behind the scenes is underestimating the true, awakening strength of our legendary protagonist. White Lotus feels a surge of excitement. Yun Hun's confidence radiates like a blinding, divine star. The system countdown begins. Only 5 minutes left until the ultimate clash of fates finally commences. Yun Hun sends his small companion on a secret task. The real game starts in the shadows. He pulls Harem aside, whispering final instructions. Everything must be perfect for the coming storm. Across the field, the goat-beard prepares his ultimate move, smelling blood in the divine water. But the prey is actually the predator. The divine stage is set for a legendary massacre. The gods lean in, eyes glued to the screen. Who will survive this brutal narrative war? Harem takes a deep breath, trusting her storyteller. The weight of their lives hangs in balance. White Lotus sharpens her aura. The sword ego is ready to feast on their enemies' souls. 5, 4, 3. The countdown echoes through the platform. The entire world holds its breath. Yun-hun grips his weapon, a cold smirk playing on his lips. Let the show begin. The goat-beard is ready, but he's about to face a god-tier power he can't even imagine. Victory is practically guaranteed this time around. That old geezer has finally summoned his ultimate trump card. This mysterious powerhouse manager radiates an overwhelming pressure. The system interface flashes a final warning on the screen. Only 60 seconds remain before the slaughter begins. The old man frantically screams for his warrior to move. But the fighter just shows off his lazy, arrogant attitude. Outside, the massive arena is overflowing with bloodthirsty spectators. Thousands have gathered to witness this legendary showdown. Everything is ready, yet that man refuses to follow orders. The old man's blood boils with pure, unadulterated rage, but he must swallow his pride to secure his survival. Only this brat has the power to crush Yun-hun. It's clear the warrior doesn't care about his employer's plight. He is only interested in one thing tonight: the thrill of butchering the world-renowned sword queen into pieces. He imagines the sensation of shredding her legendary reputation. But as the figure ascends the stage, everyone freezes in shock. The old man's jaw drops in utter disbelief. Even the little fairy watching the stream is paralyzed with confusion. The audience stares, their minds completely blown by the twist. The warrior entering the arena is someone they never expected. It's not Aram, it's Yun-hun stepping onto the battlefield. He carries his weapon with the grace of a true king. Their gazes lock in a spark-flying, deadly confrontation. Two mysterious figures in the crowd watch with cold, knowing eyes. They aren't surprised by this reckless, suicidal maneuver. They know this man's chaotic nature better than anyone else. Among them is Satan himself, his blue eyes glowing. He never imagined Yun-hun would gamble his own life. The storyteller has chosen to become the main protagonist. He claims to be fighting in the Sword Queen's stead. The opposition is left speechless by this bold move. The rules never strictly forbade a storyteller from participating. The old man's shock quickly turns into a wicked grin. This is his golden chance to execute Yun-hun permanently. He instantly commands his killer to take the boy's head, but he's met with a cold, soul-crushing response. "Shut your damn mouth, old man," the killer growls. Even the allies are questioning if Yun-hun has lost it. Can he really survive against such a monstrous entity? Her eyes see the terrifying truth of the opponent's power. A suffocating, dark aura begins to flood the entire arena. One look at him is enough to know death is near. Yun-hun activates his system to check the enemy's book. It's a normal silver grade, but his face suddenly pales. As he reads the hidden data, his blood runs cold. This man is a notorious, high-profile mass murderer from history. The one who returned from hell, a title of pure terror. Sweat pours down Yun-hun's face as the realization hits him. Is this monster the legendary Jack the Ripper? He's linked to the most gruesome massacres in Korean history. A killer who executes victims in both dreams and reality. The carnage he left behind was beyond human comprehension. The case was supposedly closed and buried long ago. No one could ever uncover the killer's true identity then. But the madman eventually lost his mind and exposed himself. He perished while fleeing from the relentless Collectors Association. He was supposed to be dead after facing Choi-yun. Yet here he stands, resurrected by a dark, forbidden power. Yun-hun faces a demon who has slaughtered thousands. What's worse is that the 5 fingers were hiding him. These shadows have been secretly nurturing this killer for years. Their involvement in the storyteller world was always minimal. They usually prefer to watch the chaos from a distance, but this killer's presence confirms Yun Huan's darkest suspicions. This is definitely linked to the coming of the apocalypse. Aram can only watch from the waiting room in agony. Her heart hammers against her ribs as she watches. She was the one who should be standing out there. But Yun Huan made the ultimate decision to protect her. She recalls the cold authority in his voice earlier today. He strictly ordered her to stay out of this fight. It made her furious, but his resolve was like iron. This is a war he agreed to settle personally. He refuses to let her get dragged into his mess. She tried to stop him, but her voice died out. "I'm no ordinary storyteller," he had declared with confidence. Combat is just another part of his legendary narrative. He saw through her mask of worry and doubt immediately. He knew she didn't believe in his ability to win. That lack of faith was what hurt her the most. She falls into a pit of guilt and anxiety. Yun Huan always trusted her, but she couldn't do same. She feels ashamed for doubting the man she follows. But Yun Huan's face remains filled with absolute, unshakable confidence. He will prove to the world that they were wrong. The signal for the start of the match echoes. The battle begins. The space around him begins to warp and transform. Pulled into a twisted dimension resembling Victorian London, the enemy who stood before him has suddenly vanished. Not a single trace remains, yet the fool is lurking right above, perched on the rooftops like a predator. He calmly contemplates how to skin our hero's face, savoring the twisted process of his dark collection. But his bloodlust is cut short as Yun Huan stares directly back, instantly pinpointing the assassin's hidden position. Shocked, the killer retreats into the shadows, his physical form dissolving and merging with the cold night. He's baffled. His ultimate stealth art should be impenetrable. How could this brat find him so effortlessly? Desperate, the murderer tries to blend into the passing crowd, hoping to mask his very existence. But within 3 seconds, Yun Huan whips around, locking onto him with terrifying precision once again. Fear grips the killer's soul. This guy is more persistent than a vengeful spirit during the ghost month. Can he actually see through the veil? The little fairy mocks him, ridiculing his legendary hidden art. "I thought your stealth was special," she taunts, driving him into a blind, murderous rage. Realizing he can't hide, he draws his dagger. With agile movements, he strikes from the blind spot. He lunges at Yun Huan's back, banking on a lethal surprise attack to end this farce. But Yun Huan's blade is already there, parrying the strike with casual ease, leaving the assassin stunned. His face turns pale as he scrambles backward, desperately trying to vanish into the void again. He doesn't realize that Yun Huan isn't just seeing through his magic at all. Instead, a glowing divine book hovers over him, marking his position like a beacon in the dark. Yun Huan tracks his every twitch. If the rat won't crawl out, then it's time for the hunt. Closing the distance instantly, Yun Huan unleashes a devastating downward slash with overwhelming power. Caught off guard, the killer barely manages to block with his dagger, his eyes wide with disbelief. Panic finally sets in, but it turns to fury when Yun Huan mocks his mediocre skills. "Just basic tier trash," Yun Huan sneers, pushing the assassin's ego past the breaking point. Veins bulge as the killer snaps. He won't be disrespected by a mere mortal like this. Suddenly, his solid form flickers and vanishes into thin air, leaving Yun Huan momentarily startled. Using godlike speed, he teleports behind our hero, preparing another lethal sneak attack. Aram screams out a warning, but the killer is already savoring his certain victory. He puts everything into one final lunge, but Yun Huan simply tilts his head with a smirk. The strike misses by an inch as Yun Huan sidesteps, looking more bored than threatened. Drenched in cold sweat, the assassin retreats, finally understanding the massive gap in their power. Yun Huan grins, readying his weapon. "Done with your little show, now watch a real pro." His pet owl glides behind the digital viewers, its ears glowing with a celestial blue seal. Simultaneously, an identical magic circle appears on Yun Hun's own ear, synchronizing their senses. He can now hear every single whisper from the gods watching the livestream world. This secret skill, shared through his companion's book, grants him the hearing of the gods themselves. He hears them loud and clear. Those fickle viewers who used to cheer for him are now betting on his death. Their betrayal ignites a fire in his soul. You want me to lose? Then keep your eyes open. Exploding forward with blinding speed, Yun Hun becomes a blur of pure, unadulterated aggression. The killer can't even process the movement, let alone analyze where the next strike is coming from. Mid-thought, he finds Yun Hun right in his face, a cold blade already slicing through the air. A jagged scar opens across his cheek as Yun Hun delivers a brutal, mocking gift to the assassin. When did he switch weapons? The assassin's mind reels as his perception of the battle shatters. Yun Hun dominates the field, raining down a relentless barrage of strikes that push the killer back. Even though the attacks seem wild, they carry a hidden weight far beyond what they appear. The predator smells real danger. This boy isn't some helpless storyteller, he's a monster in disguise. His brows knit in grim focus. This duel just became a desperate struggle for survival. The spear lunged forward with lethal intent, prompting the assassin to flash a deranged and arrogant smirk. He believed the distance made him untouchable, yet that overconfident grin was about to be violently extinguished. In a flash, the weapon defied logic, piercing deep into his shoulder and shattering his delusions of safety. Crimson sprayed everywhere as he collapsed, clutching his wound and gasping for air in utter disbelief. He could not comprehend how Yun Hun struck him from such a distance, despite his careful positioning. Seeing his confusion, our hero obliged by showing off his weapon's secret. It was far from a normal spear. The shaft extended instantly, reaching over 3 meters long. The assassin broke into a cold sweat, screaming, "Cheater." How could a weapon grow so effortlessly? Refusing to accept defeat, the madman made one last desperate gamble. He charged at 100 kilometers per hour, but suddenly slammed into an invisible force with a sickening thud. Stars exploded in his vision as his world blurred. Through the haze, he saw what had stopped his momentum. Yun Hun now held a massive, impenetrable shield. The assassin finally realized he was dealing with something truly divine. This weapon was a shapeshifter. In the blink of an eye, the shield vanished, replaced by a razor-sharp blade. Yun Hun swung the sword down with lethal force. Though the assassin blocked it, the pressure was unrelenting. Our protagonist raised his weapon again for a finishing blow. The killer crossed his daggers, bracing for the impact. But mid-swing, the sword morphed again. It transformed into a heavy polearm tipped with a brutal, spiked mace. The spiked head smashed downward like a divine hammer, delivering a bone-shattering strike that echoed through the arena. The impact sent the assassin flying into the wall. The divine audience erupted in cheers at this masterful display. His fluid weapon mastery left the viewers stunned. Was Yun Hun really just a lowly storyteller? Impossible. Now they understood why both heaven and hell were obsessed with his channel. This man was a walking catastrophe. Even Satan felt a sting of regret for being rejected by someone this captivating and dangerously skilled. Satan glared at the gossiping crowd with a loving gaze that sent a deathly chill down their spines. Back in the arena, Yun Hun noticed his opponent was still breathing. He approached with a chillingly polite smile. He kindly checked on his enemy's health, causing the assassin to scramble away like a terrified, beaten dog. This pathetic display shocked the bearded old man, while the little elf girl screamed at him in frustration. "Why are you running?" she yelled. Humiliated, the assassin snapped back, "Shut up, I am handling this my way." Cornered and desperate, he decided to unleash his forbidden trump card, ignoring the risks to his own body. Strange, blood-red runes began crawling across his skin as he glared at Yun Hun with murderous intent. His clothes tore apart as his muscles surged, his arms swelling into grotesque, monstrous proportions of pure power. He never expected to waste this hidden form on a low-rank storyteller, but his pride was on the line. Electricity crackled around him as he let out a primal roar. "I am done holding back. You are dead." In this upgraded state, his speed became godlike, blurring across the stage like a bolt of jagged lightning. His mocking laughter echoed from every direction, a disorienting symphony designed to shatter his opponent's focus. He felt invincible, until Yunhun's hand moved with the speed of a closing trap, catching him out of thin air. Despite moving at 300 kilometers per hour, the assassin was caught and slammed through a nearby building. Dust and debris exploded everywhere. His allies watched in stunned silence, their mouths hanging wide open. Looking completely unfazed, Yunhun scoffed. "If I knew this was your limit, I would have ended this sooner." The assassin lay broken in the rubble, unable to even twitch a finger under the weight of his defeat. Yet his mouth continued to spew venom. "You think you are better than me? You are nothing." Seeing the fool's refusal to accept reality, Yunhun decided to provide a final, sharp lesson in humility. The cold steel of the blade kissed his throat, finally silencing the assassin's pathetic and desperate barking. Staring up at the pristine, untouched hero, the killer finally felt the true, icy grip of mortal terror. "Please, do not kill me," he whimpered, but Yunhun did not hesitate. A promise was a promise. With one swift stroke, crimson fountains sprayed across the arena, marking the end of a coward's life. The bearded old man and the entire divine audience watched in shock as the screen turned blood-red. The arena faded away to thunderous applause as the system window flashed. "Congratulations on your absolute victory." Victory is his. As the rewards rained down, Hirim couldn't hide her absolute joy for him. Yet she bit her lip in regret. How could she have doubted Yunhun's insane growth for even a second? Even Michael, the top-tier powerhouse, was stunned. He finally realized why Yunhun was the talk of the town. An A-ranker watching an underdog. He smirked, eager to see what world-shaking feats Yunhun would pull off next. But behind the scenes, darkness stirred. In the waiting room, a sinister aura choked the life out of that pervy old man. This was the little fairy's divine punishment. Her collection had failed miserably, wasting all the resources she had invested. The pervy old man trembled in denial. He couldn't accept that Yunhun's raw power had utterly crushed him. He screamed about hidden sponsors and foul play, but his desperate excuses only fueled the manager's murderous rage. If Yunhun really had a secret high-level backer, the situation was far more dangerous than she imagined. She needed a scapegoat for this catastrophe. The pervy old man was the perfect candidate to take the fall. Her face twisted into a demonic mask of fury. "You're useless," she hissed, blaming him for losing the Bureau's secret weapon. Why keep a failure alive? The financial loss was astronomical, and the Bureau's reputation was now in tatters. Desperate, the old man crawled backward. He tried to plead his worth, but his fate was already sealed. Losing his channel meant losing his soul. He was now nothing more than trash under the little fairy's boots. The black aura tightened like a noose. His eyes bulged as the reality of his death finally set in. In his final moments, Yunhun's image appeared. He finally understood. He wasn't the hunter, he was the prey. Tears of regret streamed down as his life faded. Dark runes swirled around him, consuming what little remained of his existence. The terrifying pressure vanished instantly when Yunhun entered. The fairy put on a sickeningly sweet Hollywood-style performance. "Welcome. I'm the high-ranking manager from the Pentagonal Star Bureau," she chirped with a fake smile. When Yunhun asked about the old man, she pretended to be heartbroken. "Oh, he's simply no longer with us," she sighed. Yunhun narrowed his eyes. The system rules said the victor decides fate, but he never ordered an execution. She just winked playfully, claiming she was just cleaning up on his behalf, but Yunhun wasn't buying the act. "Shut your mouth," he snapped with a cold, terrifying gaze. The fairy froze, shocked that anyone would dare speak to her like that. "Who gave you the right to touch my property?" Yunhun's voice was like ice. He didn't care about her rank. In the Pentagonal Star Bureau, the strong rule, she tried to argue, but Yunhun only cared about his stolen compensation. "Don't lecture me on your twisted rules," he countered. He demanded full payment for the man she had disposed of. Realizing she couldn't intimidate him, she laughed it off. "Fine, fine. I'll compensate you with extra TP later." This little fairy was a legendary psycho, a high-ranking storyteller who thrived on the bloody suffering of others. Yunhun remembered her true nature. She was the monster who laughed while watching challengers slaughter each other. He took the TP she sent to settle the debt, but then he dropped a bombshell that turned her face pale. Some bureaus have secret ties with Exodus, haven't they? The air in the room instantly turned heavy. Exodus, the multidimensional shadow organization known for bringing ruin and despair to the lower realms. Rumors said the pentagonal star was their puppet, sabotaging Earth's heroes to force bureaus into bankruptcy. They played the victim while pulling the strings of destruction. The fairy's fake smile twitched as her secret was nearly exposed. "Why would a cute girl like me know about such villains?" She giggled nervously, but Yunhun knew the war had just begun. She laughed like a maniac as a bloody storm erupted, reveling in the carnage of the weak. Yunhyun would never forget that look, the chilling gaze that viewed humans as nothing more than insects. He accepted the 24 TP points she offered, a hollow bribe to silence his growing rage. But the atmosphere turned freezing when he mentioned the forbidden faction, the one known as Exodus. Exodus, the multiversal parasite responsible for the annihilation of worlds and the spread of infinite despair. The Pentagon Star branch was in league with them, sacrificing Earth's future for their own selfish power. They forced rival bureaus into ruin, while masquerading as innocent protectors of the human race. The fairy flashed a deceptive, hollow smile. "Why are you telling me such dangerous secrets?" she asked. "Who could ever suspect a cute thing like me of being linked to such monsters?" Yunhyun didn't press further. He knew the truth was hidden behind a mask he wasn't ready to break. Yunhyun waved goodbye with a playful smile, masking his true intentions perfectly. But the moment he vanished, her friendly mask shattered into pure, teeth-grinding rage. He knew she was far more dangerous than that loud-mouthed, empty-headed goatee fraud. Her ability to bury her emotions made extracting intel on their branch nearly impossible. The link between the sleeping star and Exodus proved their influence was truly terrifying. Breeding serial killers under the holy saints' noses showed their massive, hidden strength. Facing such monsters was daunting, but Yunhyun was no longer fighting this alone. He gripped his mysterious book. Returning home, he finally hoped for some peace. Instead, the short-haired girl gave him a harsh lecture about the recent battle. The two men could only listen dejectedly as Yunhyun revealed their massive success. Their channels had merged, and even the divine constellations were satisfied with it. Hearing this, her eyes sparkled brighter than a winning lottery ticket's golden glow. It wasn't for him, it was payday. Harim checked her soaring account balance instantly. Her face flushed with pure greed and joy. "I'm finally rich," she screamed. When money is involved, these two become the most focused partners in existence. Their obsession with gold left the others speechless and completely drained of energy. Suddenly, an urgent notification from the Celestial Corporation popped up on his screen. It had been buried under a mountain of alerts from the previous storytelling mission. "Congratulations, you have completed the requirements for the Senior Associate promotion rank. 10,000 merit points achieved." Yunhyun blinked, his face lighting up with shock. Just like that, he had officially ascended to a high-ranking collaborator position today. Though a bit troublesome, he had to visit headquarters for the formal ceremony. The girls cheered for his promotion, but the mood shifted almost immediately after. The weight of their upcoming, grueling schedule crushed his brief moment of laziness. Instead of working, Yunhyun casually invited the girl out on a special date. This left Harim crying tears of absolute envy and frustration at their luck. He chose her because she was searching for a powerful subsidiary company recently. In this cutthroat world, a nameless agency would never survive against the giants. They had to secure a deal now, before their window of opportunity closed. Establishing their reputation quickly was the only way to save time and power. As a legendary storyteller, he intended to personally silence those arrogant, greedy executives. No one would dare look down on her, with his divine status protecting her. She hesitated, already having a target company in mind despite the lurking risks. They sat down as she revealed the tragic history of her once wealthy family. Her brother was once a rising star monk, a genius with limitless potential. Then, a suspicious accident claimed his life and destroyed their family's bright future. Strangely, several other elite practitioners were also struck down at that exact time. The powerful clans framed her brother, shifting all the blame onto his shoulders. With him dead, the truth was buried under the weight of their cruel lies. The corrupt courts sided with the elite families, sealing her brother's tragic fate. He was too kind for them, believing the mind realm shouldn't exist for greed. Yun Huan realized the clans murdered him just to seize control of that realm. His sixth sense screamed that this death was a calculated execution, not luck. Their talk was interrupted by a group of shady men calling her name. One look at their arrogant, middle-aged faces told him that trouble had arrived. That old fossil couldn't hide his arrogance. He sneered at the manager, mocking the tiny agency she built. He scoffed, claiming such a pathetic company could never earn enough to survive, fed up with his babbling. Yunhu asked who this nuisance was. Awkwardly, she introduced him as a senior from her previous workplace. The insults didn't stop there. They turned their venom toward him, mocking him as a weak, fragile pretty boy. No way would he just sit back and let this trash look down on him. It was time to shut them up. He spoke out, but the man only bragged louder, boasting about his status within the prestigious Hun clan. He radiated pride, assuming everyone feared their family's name, as the man continued his pathetic attempts at intimidation. The constant nagging was becoming unbearable. Yunhu looked at him with pure disgust and delivered a cold command. "Get lost already." His words ignited a fuse of pure rage. "How dare a brat like you tell me to beat it?" He barked about youth and arrogance, but Yunhu only responded with a look of utter contempt. He was barely holding back from crushing him. Seeing his temper flare like a wildfire, the girl tried to intervene. She was frantic, trying to stop a disaster. Meanwhile, the man was fuming that a nameless novice dared to threaten him. He spat out the classic line, "Do you even know who my father is?" His face twisted in a hideous, mocking grin. He turned his filth toward the girl again, sneering with a look of pure malice and contempt. "I thought you'd land a client with skill," he jeered, "but it turns out you're just selling your body instead." The room went silent. Both of them froze, paralyzed by the sheer audacity of his disgusting accusation. The man kept rambling, oblivious to the deathly aura rising beside him. Suddenly, a fist silenced him forever. A single punch landed square on his jaw, nearly dislocating it. The fat egomaniac went down in an instant. His lackeys stood there in shock as their leader was neutralized in a heartbeat. They scrambled to pull him up. Despite his face swelling like a balloon, the fool still hadn't learned his lesson, screaming curses through broken teeth. They tried to summon a special unit for backup, but Yunhu stepped in. "Call whoever you want," he warned. It was useless. Once they realized he wasn't a standard novice, they knew the law couldn't touch him. The realization hit them like a ton of bricks. How could the laws for novice monks punish a legendary storyteller? Even after discovering his true identity, they didn't back down. Instead, they surrounded him, blinded by their own stupidity. They drew their weapons, ready to strike. But to Yunhu, this was nothing more than a pathetic comedy. He challenged them with a winner's smirk, his eyes reflecting a terrifying thirst for blood. "Get lost before I slaughter every single one of you." His voice, cold as death, sent a primal shiver through them. A primal shiver ran down their spines. Terrorized and trembling, they realized they were facing a true monster. They turned tail and ran like frightened mutts. With the trash cleared out, Yunhu's terrifying aura vanished instantly. He offered a reassuring smile, allowing the short-haired manager to finally catch her breath. Those thugs were lucky to be alive. The shop owner was left in tears, forced to clean up the aftermath of the chaos. Meanwhile, 𝒂𝒔𝒕𝒓𝒆💂 sat back, continuing their conversation as if nothing had happened. Because of the recent lawsuit, she was now blacklisted by all the major clans. Her situation was getting desperate. She struggled just to find a company to handle their loot. Her life was falling apart, yet she felt no resentment. She knew he wasn't a bad person. He just had a knack for making the wrong people angry by being too righteous. Seeing her start to give up on the unfairness of it all, Yunhu stood up with unwavering confidence. He promised to bring her justice. "Let's turn this rotten world upside down," he declared with a bold grin. He reached out his hand, promising to find a way to process their materials first. His burning passion breathed new life into her. The hopeless shadow vanished, replaced by a spark of determination. She seized the opportunity. When they arrived at the processing company, things went smoother than expected. The sellers were strangely submissive, completing the deal with bows and scrapes. Even she couldn't believe how easy it was. However, she still felt a pang of guilt, feeling like a burden since Yunhu did all the heavy lifting. Sensing her gloom, he quickly comforted her. He reminded her that although she felt weak now, they were a team. They would support each other until she reached the top. The next morning, a new scene unfolded. Harem appeared, looking absolutely stunning in her best outfit, ready to grace the cover of a major magazine. Their destination was one of the nation's top 3 publications. The receptionist instantly froze, mesmerized by Harem's god-tier visuals. His eyes were glued to her, unable to look away for even a second. Suddenly, a professional staff member stepped forward to greet them. Facing the public, our hero kept his legendary storyteller identity hidden. He played the role of a lowly assistant to the Sword Queen. The woman in charge was an old friend of the short-haired girl. She was the magazine's elite chief of intelligence gathering. Getting straight to business, the chief questioned the true motive. Why did Harem purge her mental realm so ruthlessly? Harem maintained her cold beauty facade with perfect composure. She claimed it was merely her duty as a professional collector. Answering with an icy tone, she hid the deeper truth. To the world, she was just an elite performing her assigned tasks. As the interview wrapped, the chief showered her with praise. Most rising stars get arrogant, but Harem was different, a true professional. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted as the chief mentioned a dark rumor. A mysterious storyteller was reportedly living among ordinary humans. She hinted at Yunhun's forbidden move, abandoning divine protection. He had entered the mental realm alongside his collector, risking everything. It was clear this woman had seen through his disguise long ago. Realizing the game was up, he let out a heavy sigh. He finally confessed, causing the chief's eyes to sparkle like twin stars. She begged for one personal question, purely out of curiosity. He gave her a blunt truth. Purging the mind is a shortcut. It is the fastest way to achieve absolute, overwhelming fame. The chief worried this would spark a war with rival factions. But Yunhun didn't care. He would crush anyone blocking his path. He abruptly ended the session, leaving the spotlight to Harem. Frustrated but impressed, the chief had no choice but to let it go. Stepping outside, they were met with a deafening wall of noise. Obsessed fans were screaming louder than a chaotic street market. The commotion was caused by the arrival of a flashy elite collector. He appeared with 2 massive bodyguards, oozing arrogance and vanity. Yunhun and 𝒐𝒂𝒏 nearly gagged at the cringeworthy display. How could someone be so shamelessly over the top in public? To their horror, even the short-haired girl fell under his spell. Yunhun had to literally snap her back to her senses. Sensing something suspicious, he pulled up the man's secret stats. The system revealed a Casanova trait, a tool for mass mind manipulation. Before he could react, the flashy peacock strutted toward them. He was hunting for the magazine's newest sensation, the Sword Queen. He wanted to leech off her rising fame immediately. He struck a pose, glowing with an artificial, skincare-enhanced radiance. But his charm failed instantly against 𝒐𝒏𝒄𝒅'𝒔 ironclad mental walls. A Casanova trait was nothing compared to the spirit of a true warrior. Seeing him target her, Yunhun stepped in to block his path. The flashy guy sneered, looking down on him as a mere manager. "Stay away from our collector," Yunhun warned with a cold gaze. "She's not interested in your thick-skinned, oily face." The narcissist laughed, confident that no woman on earth could hate him. Yunhun's blood began to boil as he tightened his fists. Even 𝒐𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒅'𝒔 was ready to tear the man apart. But surprisingly, 𝒐𝒏𝒄𝒅'𝒔 was the one who stepped forward to protect Yunhun. The man ignored her rejection and dared to touch her chin. 𝒐𝒏𝒄𝒅'𝒔 instantly swiped his hand away, her eyes flashing with fury. His polite mask shattered, replaced by a sinister, threatening smirk. He pulled off his glove and hurled it directly at 𝒐𝒏𝒄𝒅'𝒔. A formal challenge. The obsessed crowd erupted in frenzied cheers. Seeing 𝒐𝒏𝒄𝒅'𝒔's murderous intent, Yunhun simply sighed and gave his approval. 𝒐𝒏𝒄𝒅'𝒔's ironclad spirit was impenetrable, making the Casanova's low-tier charms look absolutely pathetic in comparison. Seeing his god-tier Riz fail, the villain pivoted his predatory gaze toward Yunhun, charging the man in his way. He sneered with supreme arrogance, mocking the lowly manager, who dared to interfere with his divine conquest. Yunhun fired back with icy contempt, warning the creep to keep his plastic, narcissistic face away from his trainees. Despite his mediocre looks, the villain preened with insane confidence, deluded into thinking he was the world's ultimate protagonist. Yunhun's blood boiled at the sight. He tightened his fists as his internal killing intent reached a breaking point. Even the usually calm White Lotus was fuming, her hidden rage exploding at this narcissist's shameless behavior. Unexpectedly, 𝒐𝒏𝒄𝒅'𝒔 stepped forward to shield her manager, facing the predator's greasy advances with a lethal, icy glare. The fool ignored her rejection, daring to reach out and mockingly stroke 𝒐𝒏𝒄𝒅'𝒔's chin with his disgusting hands. Smack! 𝒐𝒏𝒄𝒅'𝒔 violently slapped his hand away, her speed leaving the arrogant antagonist in a state of absolute shock. His gentleman mask shattered instantly. He stripped off his gloves, his eyes gleaming with a dark, threatening aura. He hurled the glove at 𝒐𝒏𝒄𝒅'𝒔, a formal dual challenge fueled by a bruised ego and desperate malice. Immediately, his mindless fan club roared in approval, thirsting for what they assumed would be a one-sided slaughter. Yunhun moved to intervene, but one look at 𝒐𝒏𝒄𝒅'𝒔's blazing eyes told him this mission was personal. Sensing her unyielding resolve to dominate this trash, the manager simply sighed and unleashed his secret weapon. Her resolve was absolute. With fire in her eyes, she was ready to crush that arrogant fool immediately. Stepping forward with total confidence, she roared, "I accept your challenge, you pathetic brat. Let's settle this." Everything was falling into his trap. He had publicly cornered 𝒐𝒏𝒄𝒅'𝒔, using her honor to force this duel. The villain smirked, certain that his higher rank and overwhelming status would guarantee a humiliating defeat for her. He acted like he'd already won, fueled by the massive power of the Heroes Guild backing his play. A twisted, delusional grin spread across his face as he imagined claiming her as his prize after victory. But Yunwoo whispered a secret plan. Following his lead, she demanded the duel be delayed for 3 days. Blighted by his own massive ego, the fool agreed instantly, never suspecting the lethal trap being set. The date was set. They would meet in 72 hours at the association's official arena for the showdown. Yunwoo saw through the coward's arrogance, knowing it stemmed from the divine backing of the Olympus gods. He vowed that in 3 days, they would trample that fake pride into the very dirt of the arena. Once the confrontation ended, the manager finally arrived, frantic to know what kind of chaos had just erupted. Just mentioning that flashy creep made her face darken. To her, he was nothing but a sick predator. During his interview, he'd stared at her with a gaze so predatory it felt like he was hunting prey. Rumors whispered that he used his guild as a shield to commit countless dark and unforgivable deeds. Finding out he challenged 𝒐𝒏𝒄𝒅'𝒔 to a duel made the manager sigh in absolute, soul-crushing exhaustion. Despite the massive level gap, Yunwoo's calm expression suggested a hidden strategy was already in motion. This wasn't just a fight. It was a calculated gamble to skyrocket the Sword Queen's legendary name. Yunwoo tasked the manager with leaking the news, ensuring the media turned this into a global spectacle. She looked ready to collapse. "I thought you were just crazy, but you're actually a complete mastermind." Despite her complaints, she agreed to the plan. The stage was being set for a massive media explosion. They had 3 days to amplify the hype, making sure every eye in the world was watching them. While the news spread like wildfire, Harem locked herself away to awaken her dormant, ultimate potential. Reporters swarmed like starving locusts, surrounding the headquarters in a desperate frenzy for any exclusive scoop. The short-haired manager watched the chaos outside, feeling the sheer weight of the storm they'd summoned. Harem was blessed by spirits, but she needed this grand stage to truly become a household legend. Deep in training, violent sparks of blue lightning surged around her, manifesting her terrifying new power. She was becoming a living weapon, ready to unleash a storm of destruction upon her arrogant opponent. Her progress was terrifying, already far surpassing the peak of her strength from her previous, tragic life. Refusing to stay stagnant, she pushed herself to become the strongest version of the Sword Queen ever. Match day arrived. The villain's notoriety had successfully drawn a massive, bloodthirsty crowd to the stadium. Yunwoo remained stoic, but the manager was turning pale from the overwhelming pressure of the cameras. With the entire world's media watching, the tension was thick enough to suffocate anyone in the room. But high-level duels between elite collectors were never meant to be quiet or ordinary affairs. In this world, you either get used to the spotlight or you get swallowed whole by it. Her stomach churned with such intense anxiety that she looked ready to bolt for the nearest exit. Yunwoo scanned the VIP stands, spotting legendary collectors and high-ranking guild members watching with interest. The pressure was real. This duel would either make or break Harem's entire career in an instant. Harem opened her eyes, her focus like a sharpened blade. She was finally ready for the slaughter. Suddenly, Yunwoo delivered a sharp flick to her head, a bizarre way to calm a lady's nerves. Yet the tension vanished. She gave a radiant smile, her heart finally steady and ready for battle. The bell echoed. Both fighters stepped onto the arena floor, the air heavy with thick, murderous intent. This small duel had attracted over 4,500 divine constellations as live viewers. The arena shifted, transforming into a lush, wild forest, a perfect stage for the impending carnage. The system announced the rules. Victory is achieved only by total surrender or absolute unconsciousness. Welcome to the Phantom Realm. Slay the monsters to climb the leaderboard. Points scale with monster rank, but the boss is the ultimate jackpot prize. The match lasts 3 hours. If time expires, the highest score takes it all. Rule number 1, no killing. Break it and the association will crush you. The signal sounds, and boom, a massive explosion rocks the entire forest landscape. Just like that, a giant beast falls. 1 strike, 1 kill, simply legendary. 150 points instantly. His fangirls are absolutely losing their minds. But wait, what's Harem doing? Why is she standing still like a statue? Is she surrendering? The crowd thinks she's given up before the fight even started. Suddenly, blue sparks erupt. Electricity dances across her skin with terrifying intensity. He hears a thunderous roar. Something massive is charging through the trees. Like a stampeding herd of mammoths, in a flash, Harem appears right before him. He barely blocks her strike. She's moving faster than the eye can follow. He realizes it now. She doesn't care about monsters. Her target is Harem. She looks like a raging dragon. Her pressure alone is enough to suffocate him. "Don't underestimate me," he screams, his body erupting in a violent crimson aura. They clash in a test of pure endurance, steel against steel, power against power. But his strength is fading. Harem's illogical power is devouring his very soul. Her eyes ignite with divine light. With one crushing blow, she shatters his defenses. The ground collapses into a massive crater. The audience watches in absolute silence. They called her strong, but this is beyond any mortal imagination. This is the moment she craved, the power to crush those who dared look down. Pure adrenaline courses through her veins. She's finally releasing her true, hidden potential. She finally understands Yunhun's thrill, the absolute ecstasy of the battlefield. One swing of her blade cleaves the forest. Everything within miles is leveled. She can't kill him yet, so she leaves a permanent reminder on his cheek. He touches the scar, trembling in horror, his precious handsome face ruined. Enraged, he charges like a madman. He's lost all reason, fueled by pure spite. Clang! With a flick of her wrist, his weapon flies into the sky. Then comes the bonus, a knee straight to his arrogant, superstar face. His ego is shattered along with his looks. He's about to lose everything. I'm an A-rank collector. He panics, desperately trying to read her next move. If he can just stay calm, he can counterattack. He just needs one opening. There, she lunges. He grins like a maniac, thinking he finally has her. Wrong, it was a feint. She vanishes, leaving him swinging at thin air. He grinds his teeth in fury, but it's too late. A massive smack. 3 teeth fly out instantly, but Hirim isn't finished with him yet. Her eyes are like a wild beast's. She's locked onto his face like prey. It's a one-sided slaughter. The crowd watches in terror as he's pulverized. Swollen like a pig's head, he raises a trembling hand to surrender. No surrendering yet. She silences him with another devastating blow to the jaw. His fans finally see the truth. He's just a loud-mouthed fraud compared to her. The organizers panic. They need to stop this before she actually kills him. But she won't let him speak. She won't give him the chance to quit. Gathering every ounce of her strength, Hirim prepares the final, world-shaking strike. As the dust settles, the opponent is left unrecognizable, a broken shell of a man, completely unconscious. Only now do the organizers dare to intervene, officially announcing the end of the duel. The Sword Queen reigns supreme. Watching from the sidelines, the little fairy's face contorts in pure malice as her wicked schemes fall apart. Her plot to sabotage Yunwoo has failed, fueling her rage, yet she is cunning enough to bide her time. She knows better than to strike blindly. Meanwhile, at the Guild Council, the atmosphere is thick with tension. The elders cannot accept Hirim's victory, haunted by the memory of the mental realms she ruthlessly conquered. Their resentment festers. While the room descends into a panicked frenzy, one elite collector remains chillingly indifferent. This high-ranking member of the Nemesis Guild sneers at their cowardice, despite warnings to maintain his composure. "Know your place," they snap, but he looks down on them with utter disdain, ignoring their petty politics. If not for the captain's absolute orders, he wouldn't spend another second in this pathetic, meaningless meeting. Since that battle, Hirim and Lily have been inseparable, their faces blooming with joy over their recent triumph. Yet Yunwoo remains silent, lost in a deep contemplation until he finally voices a shocking new decision. He declares it is time to recruit a third collector. The girls freeze, their hearts stopping in mid-beat. Hirim's grip on her smartphone falters as 1,000 rivers of tears begin to flow down her cheeks. "Am I being replaced?" she cries, but the cold reality is clear. 2 people cannot survive the higher floors. Terrifying monsters lurk in the advanced mental realms. Hearing Yunwoo's logic, Hirim is forced to accept the truth. The path ahead is brutal, and a new ally is necessary. Suddenly, Lily's interest is piqued by a new prospect. Hearing she might become a senior mentor, Hirim's ego swells, and she's instantly swayed by the flattery. She puts on a facade of a generous veteran, but the search for a worthy candidate begins now. Yunwoo searches his memories for future legends. Only the Flower Knight and the beast named Sang remain. The Flower Knight is currently in America, likely already bound by a contract to a powerful celestial being. As for the mysterious monster Sang, his location and true identity remain hidden from the world's eyes. Yunwoo sighs, exhausted by the search. He cannot afford to waste a contract on a talentless nobody. Fortunately, Tomorrow is graduation day, the moment when fresh, unpolished gems finally awaken their hidden powers. Just as he checks his status, a video call interrupts him. An unknown caller is requesting a connection. He accepts, and the screen reveals a red demon with twin horns, grinning with insufferable excitement. The brat is ecstatic, calling to congratulate Yunwoo on his new promotion to a high-ranking assistant role. Looking at those tiny, familiar horns, Yunwoo finally realizes who it is, that pouting kid from the party. He expected a delicate girl, but instead, he's facing a massive, muscle-bound red demon half-human. The demon brags about his prestigious new guild and the legendary city of Anlin, where he now resides. It's a place where blade and magic exist in harmony. He even boasts about his top-tier collector contract. He thinks he's special, but Yunwoo already has the kid's entire life story held in his palm. When Yunwoo recites the demon's private data and stats, the boy is left shaking in absolute disbelief. "How do you know my secret measurements?" he screams, suspecting Yunwoo is a high-level forum stalker. After his failed attempt at bragging, the demon flees the call, mentioning a massive stir on the forums. Yunwoo opens the community window, only to be met with a sight that leaves him speechless. The internet is in an uproar over a rookie storyteller who is desperately trying to copy Yunwoo's style. Intrigued, he clicks the link. The video shows two men being ruthlessly bullied by a mob of slimes. They can't even defend themselves and are forced to run for their lives in a pathetic display. The copycat tried to reject celestial blessings to gain fame, but it was a fatal, boneheaded mistake. Instead of feeling insulted, Yunwoo is actually amused by their struggle. Then, Hirim snaps him back to reality. Jealous of his attention, she delivers a swift kick. The next day, Yunwoo heads out for recruitment alone. He leaves Hirim to rest, knowing she's being hunted by the relentless pack of paparazzi vultures outside. Activating his stealth skill, Yunwoo's presence vanishes as he becomes completely transparent, a ghost in the crowd. He successfully evades the media swarm. Graduation has begun, and the hunt for a new legend is on. The area was swarming with elite guild scouts, making even the air feel heavy with intense competition. With vultures circling every talent, finding a hidden gem seemed like an impossible mission for a lone player. However, Yunhun possessed a god-tier cheat code, the ability to read anyone's hidden potential like a book. He dove into the crowd, searching desperately until sunset, yet failed to find a single worthy candidate. Exhaustion hit him hard. Everyone around him was bottom-tier trash, barely holding onto a pathetic bronze rank. These losers had zero future in the coming apocalypse, and the legendary golden books were nowhere in sight. Suddenly, his eyes locked onto something impossible. He bolted like a predator, nearly trampling his companion in haste. He ignored her screams of confusion, chasing a mysterious figure into the shadows of a narrow, silent alley. "Wait just a second," he shouted. He couldn't believe the insane sight manifesting right before his very eyes. Before him stood an ordinary girl, yet 4 shimmering silver books hovered above her head like divine halos. Yunhun broke into a cold sweat. He was staring at a legendary rainbow-grade talent for the first time. While normal players struggled with one book, this girl possessed a literal library of untapped, godlike power. She looked at him with pure disgust before turning to walk away, clearly annoyed by his sudden intrusion. Panicking, he lunged forward to stop her, looking more like a desperate street harasser than a professional scout. Her gaze turned murderous, cold enough to freeze blood as she prepared to unleash a verbal execution. "Get lost before I castrate you," she hissed. Yet her lethal aura only made his professional smile widen. He quickly donned his corporate persona, lying through his teeth about being a top manager from the BWA. She paused, her guard dropping slightly as she asked if he truly recognized her hidden, explosive combat potential. Not wanting his prize to vanish, he reached out again, firmly grabbing her shoulder to halt her departure. Her killing intent flared instantly. "Touch me again and you're dead," she warned, leaving him completely frozen. He could only watch in silence as the greatest genius he'd ever seen vanished into the urban labyrinth. His companion was baffled, wondering if this girl was some secret powerhouse from a future timeline he knew. But strangely, despite her mountain of potential, her name was a total ghost in his memories of the future. Someone with that much raw, divine power should have been a world-famous ranker, yet she remained totally unknown. He was forced to retreat, but he clutched her data tightly. He wouldn't let this miracle slip away. Back at his base, he ordered an immediate investigation into the girl named 𝒂𝒎 from the training camps. He thought his special skill would reveal everything, but one book wasn't enough to uncover her deep secrets. His assistant finally pulled up the records, her face turning pale with shock at the girl's bizarre data. Out of 359 collectors, she was ranked near the bottom at a pathetic 340. Her record was a total disaster. Failing grades and zero teamwork skills had her on the verge of expulsion. Yet her combat stats were absolutely terrifying. She was a feral beast that no academy could ever hope to tame. It was clear her personality was a nightmare, but in this world, raw power was the only absolute truth. When asked if he wanted to reconsider, Yun-hun didn't hesitate. He nodded with a gaze full of ambition. A rainbow-tier talent was a once-in-a-lifetime find, a diamond in the rough that could dominate the entire world. He believed she could even surpass the legendary Sword Queen, Hiram, if he could just manage to recruit her. Soon, he arrived at a rundown shop, his expression hardening as he prepared for a very delicate confrontation. Inside was a weary, broken woman, the mother of Choi Do-yeon. She immediately bristled with suspicion at his arrival. Upon learning he was looking for her son, she softened, inviting him into her humble home with shaking hands. Before he could even breathe, she begged for any news regarding her son's current, mysterious whereabouts and safety. She had no idea if her child was dead or alive, living every day in a hell of uncertainty. When Yun-hun confirmed he was alive, she collapsed in tears, a massive weight finally lifting from her soul. He revealed his true identity as a storyteller, beings from another realm who watch the fates of all worlds. He explained his ability to hear whispers from distant dimensions, tracking those lost in the chaos of existence. He confirmed the boy was breathing, though he kept the dark truth of Do-yeon's current situation to himself. Looking at her, he felt a flicker of pity for Do-yeon, despite the boy's legendary and trash-tier personality. If the world had truly ended, the woman standing before him would have been a mere memory. Her eyes shimmered with grief, haunted by the image of the son she had lost to destiny. Little Do-yeon had grown up far too fast, forced into maturity after his father's untimely passing. While other children played, he bore the weight of the world, never uttering a single complaint. His disappearance shattered her soul, leaving only the crushing guilt of a mother's perceived failure. Tears fell as she lamented, wishing he'd been born into a better life, free from such suffering. But Yun-hyun knew the truth. He looked at her, ready to shatter those agonizing delusions. The boy hadn't suffered because of fate. He had endured everything solely out of love for her. He's alive, but he isn't happy. His words pierced through her like a cold blade of reality. In his past life, he'd rejected ultimate power and glory, all for a single chance to return home. His only motivation was family. Understanding this, the mother's heart finally found a glimmer of hope. She thanked him, sensing a bond between the two men that transcended mere friendship or time. Suddenly, the peaceful moment shattered. A group of low-life thugs burst in, reeking of ill intent. They demanded the shop, but she stood her ground. "Who do you think you're talking to?" The thugs sneered, their arrogance fueling Yun-hyun's rising irritation. It was time for a lesson. Stroking his chin, he decided to intervene. A little friendly assistance for an old acquaintance's mother. They swung at him, but in a flash, the trash was already being swept out the door. Body after body hit the pavement. Terrified, their leader barked, "A collector attacking civilians? That's illegal." Yun-hyun tilted his head, eyes cold. "Rules. If I weren't a collector, you'd already be dead." He grabbed them like discarded rags, dragging them into a dark, secluded alleyway for a chat. It was time for an interrogation. To pull weeds, you must strike at the very root. Summoning his bronze tome, the coordinates of their hideout flashed before his eyes. Road 72A. The thugs trembled, their bravado gone. Who sent you? What are you planning to do to us? I'm going to tear your headquarters to the ground. He turned away, leaving them in despair. Ignoring their curses, he realized their filth shouldn't be heard by the innocent world outside. Activating the White Lotus seal, he soundproofed the alley, letting them scream into the void. Returning to the shop, he assured the worried mother that not a single hair was harmed. With a subtle gesture, he placed a hidden warding seal to ensure her safety forevermore. Business was finished here. Rolling up his sleeves, it was time for the main event. Arriving at their office, bodies piled up instantly. The floor became a carpet of defeated thugs. "How did you find us?" one yelled. Yun Hyun just shrugged, blaming his talkative friends from earlier. A thug lunged with a steel pipe, swinging for the kill, but Yun Hyun moved like smoke. Dodging effortlessly, he sensed it. These weren't normal thugs, they had a collector backing them. Empowered by a hidden master, they swarmed him at once, confident in their numbers. Their confidence shattered as his boot met their faces. One fool drew a blade, seeking blood. Yun Hyun caught the razor-sharp edge with his bare hand, a display of absolute dominance. Thanks to his combat knight title, his physical stats and melee mastery were off the charts. A single punch sent jaws flying. He beckoned the rest with a mocking grin. "Is that all?" The scarred boss trembled in the corner, clutching a suitcase as if it were a shield. Before him, a monster reigned supreme. Yun Hyun stood alone amidst a sea of broken bodies. "Who are you?" they stammered, boring. He tossed the last thug aside like trash. He pitied them. In this new world, the law could never touch a god like him. Cold sweat drenched the boss. He remembered rumors of a legendary, shadow-dwelling collector assassin. Mistaking Yun Hyun for that monster, he collapsed to his knees, begging for mercy. "Take everything. Our resources, our lives, just spare me." He groveled, his pride completely erased. Our hero played it cool, chest out, while Scarface trembled. He slowly opened the suitcase, revealing its contents. It was packed with cash and a mysterious ledger. This was the smoking gun linking the syndicates to the guilds. Names like the Hanggun Guild and the Twilight Guild were all over it. These were the power players. Even the Pentagon Division was likely involved in the shadows. But one thing didn't make sense to Yoon Hoon. Why would they be so obsessed with real estate? Then, it hit him like a lightning bolt. It was about the dungeon mindscapes. These hidden portals appear in places the government can't even track. If a guild hides one, they claim all the treasures for themselves. Yoon Hoon's eyes shifted to the safe. Scarface turned pale as a ghost. He desperately blocked the way, trying to guard his last secret. His panic was all the proof Yoon Hoon needed. There was definitely something legendary hidden inside that box. With a cold smirk, Yoon Hoon activated the system. He bypassed the lock and teleported the safe away. Scarface was left staring at empty air, his mind completely blank. The massive safe had vanished into thin air. Before the villain could even process the shock, a heavy fist crashed into his face. Down for the count. Back in his private observer room, Yoon Hoon inspected his prize. His fingers glowed with a sharp blue aura. Using his unique scribe ability, the heavy lock clicked open. But instead of gold, he found top-secret documents. Meanwhile, the three lackeys crawled back to headquarters, battered and bruised. They looked like they'd seen a ghost. They tried to claim they hadn't talked, but Scarface wasn't buying it. How else did Yoon Hoon find them? Suddenly, a chilling voice echoed through the room, a presence so heavy it made the air turn cold. A man in glasses entered, flanked by two mountain-like bodyguards. This was the director, the man in charge. He was there for the stolen intel. The organization's most guarded secrets were now in the wind. Scarface stammered, claiming the safe's high-level security was unhackable. He thought the data was still safe. The director didn't care for excuses. He calmly walked toward the useless underlings and raised a single finger. Blood sprayed as he gave a lethal warning. He was only sparing Scarface because of his past service. Terrified, Scarface promised to find Yoon-hoon. He hoped to negotiate and buy back their classified information. But the director knew better. If the thief could steal it, he could surely break the seal. He ordered a total blackout on today's failure. No one was allowed to speak of this humiliation. His eyes burned with pure hatred. He vowed to make the Twilight Guild pay for this disaster. Later, White Lotus was wide-eyed with wonder. She had never seen the massive Celestial Corporation building before. She marveled at everything, especially the guards in power armor. These weren't your average mall security. This gear granted immense strength to ordinary humans. It was the only way to survive high-level threats. Depending on their rank, even a division chief could challenge a holy spirit with this technology. Suddenly, Yoon-hoon felt a prickle on his neck. A terrifying gaze was locked onto him from the shadows. He looked around, heart racing, but the source of the pressure was nowhere to be found. High above, a skeletal figure watched his every move. This was a being of immense, ancient power. A flame of curiosity ignited in the skeleton's eyes. How much entertainment could this little human provide? He hoped this new player would finally illuminate this dull and chaotic world. An interesting fate awaited. Yoon-hoon shuddered, his skin crawling with goosebumps. He couldn't shake the feeling of being hunted. Even White Lotus felt the intense, burning gaze from behind. This wasn't just a figment of their imagination. Yoon-hoon realized this power was on another level. This was likely one of the first narrators. The CEO of Celestial, Lord Butte, had finally set his sights on our protagonist. Sweat dripped down Yoon-hoon's face. He tried to stay positive, hoping the god was just being nosy. He decided to play it cool for now. There was no point in worrying about a god's whims. Finally, the promotion ceremony began. All eyes were on Yoon-hoon, the man of the hour. Standing under the blinding spotlight, he felt a rush. This was the glory he never had before. As soon as the formalities ended, he bolted. He didn't want to deal with the annoying recruiters. He ducked into a quiet library, finally finding a moment of peace away from the chaos. Reunited with the white-bearded elder, our hero received a surprisingly warm and bright welcome. Blushing from the sudden promotion praise, he returned here to fulfill a long-standing promise. But the moment the name 𝑳𝒊𝒗𝒆𝒂𝒎 escaped the elder's lips, he froze in utter shock. This man was the legendary guardian, the ultimate protector of the Dragon Kings themselves. Across the multiverses, the great 𝒔𝒐𝒎 once stood as a divine force of celestial dragons. Among all gathered races, 7 supreme beings reigned as the legendary dragon monarchs. They held godlike power, yet one was born fragile, appearing weak and purely white. This was the White Dragon, a misunderstood figure in the great chronicles of the Guardian. In dragon society, weakness is a sin, and he was despised by his own kind. That hatred fueled the White Dragon, driving him to become the strongest dragon king ever. Helped by a storyteller, he was mocked, as dragons and storytellers were ancient enemies. Yet, supported by a human, he ascended the throne as the true Dragon King. That legendary human guardian was none other than 𝒂𝒊𝒗𝒆𝒂𝒎, leaving Yoon-hoon completely stunned. Why would such a world-renowned legend be resting in this remote, forgotten corner? 𝒂𝒊𝒗𝒆𝒂𝒎 simply chuckled, admitting he chose a quiet retirement but still envied Yoon-hoon's youth. Yoon-hoon encouraged him, insisting that age is just a number for someone so seasoned. Suddenly, the system chimed. 10 minutes left. The promotion ceremony was officially ending now. Forced to say goodbye, Yoon-hoon promised a future visit and cautiously peeked outside. The other storytellers had vanished, leaving the halls eerie and silent as he tried escaping. Suddenly, a towering figure blocked his path, the same red-haired woman from earlier. She had witnessed Yoon-hoon leaving the restricted archives, sparking her intense curiosity. She carried a golden book radiating divine light, marking her as a high-ranking bureau chief. To his surprise, This powerhouse knew his name and even praised his rapid promotion. She was fascinated that he rejected a divine blessing to fight beside his own collector. After he confirmed her suspicions, the red-haired lady showed her own unique way of affection. She delivered a heavy smack to his head, then immediately tried recruiting him. Terrified by her violent enthusiasm, he nearly declined, but her department caught his eye. She led the Celestial Bureau, an elite group operated by the mysterious Starfires. They rarely recruited, and every storyteller under them was considered an elite, top-tier talent. Yun Hun was stunned to be offered a spot in such an exclusive, prestigious department. As the bureau chief, she was determined to get a yes from our rising star. Despite the tempting offer, Yun Hun declined, choosing to remain an independent solo player. He vowed never to join any faction, preferring to carve his own legendary path. Seeing his burning passion, she smiled, finally understanding his connection to the old man. However, Yun Hun wasn't foolish. He offered to work for them as a freelance contractor. Anyone else would have been punished for such arrogance, but he was special. The deal was struck, and she headed inside to meet the legendary 𝑳𝒊𝒗𝒆𝒂𝒎. Before leaving, she warned him about the Pentagon bastards lurking on Earth. They are ruthless and won't let a talented storyteller like him live in peace. Yun Hun wasn't afraid. He confidently vowed to crush them all by himself. That is all for now. Please like and share to support our epic journey.